You can either pay me one way with your check or pay me another way with your body. You're a strong, beautiful woman. If you made the money and you have the money to pay for your car repairs, pay for them with your money and not your body.
Every day cannot be Christmas, and if you happen to be a bad parent, someday you'll end up getting what you deserve. Mr. Little claimed he was tricked by Ms. Clifton into paying for child support because he felt he was the father of her twins, only to find out that another man was also paying for child support. The case began like this.
Now you say you are seeking the results of a paternity test to prove he's their father and to get him to pay up once again.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, Mr. Little, you argue that when Miss Clifton's twins were 4 months old, you learned another man had claimed them as his own.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, Your
Now,
Honor.
you say she's all about the money.
Yes.
And she's not getting any more from you.
Correct, Your Honor.
At least we know she doesn't feel bad about having two men pay the bills for her twins. The question on everyone's mind is how they found themselves in such a situation. Did it start as a romantic relationship, or was it just a business in bed kind of thing? Well, Mr. Little gave his account of how they met.
Now, me and Ashanti, we met a few years ago, and we ended up spending a lot of time together as me being her personal mechanic.
Oh, a personal mechanic.
Yes, ma'am. She was looking for a vehicle, and I was helping her search for a good vehicle. So we spent a lot of time back and forth looking for cars.
So you really are a car mechanic.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, Your Honor. Yes, Your Honor.
I have to side with Judge Lauren on that one. What are the odds of that actually happening? Anyway, after Mr. Little gave his account of how he and Ms. Clifton got together, the judge asked Ms. Clifton to tell the court how she remembered the situation, and she began her story like this.
A friend of mine, a good friend of mine, I was looking for a vehicle. She told me, I know a place that you can go. The mechanic there, he's nice, good to look at. He'll probably work on your car for a little or nothing. He's supposed to be single.
When she said you need a good mechanic, didn't she mean just in your Rolodex, not in your bed?
Yes, in my Rolodex. But it takes two. I didn't proposition him for sex. It takes two. Now we engaged together.
Ow! Even Judge Lauren wasn't expecting that truth bomb. So, Mr. Little had a wife all along and was kicking it in bed with Ms. Clifton? Wow. Mr. Little tried to deny the situation, telling the judge that when they got together, he and his wife were separated, and they never had plans of getting back together. But there was more to the story.
My car worked on. I still kept him as my
No, Your Honor.
I still kept him as my noted and trusted mechanic because he's the only person that knows my car. Why would I go somewhere else? I can still pay you. I pay him for services, so I can still pay you for services.
Miss Clifton, she actually came by my job, then immediately she propositioned me for sex. Okay.
Wait a minute. What happened now, Miss Clifton?
He had been working on my car. We separated for about 2 years.
Mr. Little is one bad man. Looks like he accepts payment in all kinds of ways, given the right circumstances. Moving on, Ms. Clifton finds out she's pregnant, and she immediately tells Mr. Little about the pregnancy. Surprisingly, he did not deny the baby. He claimed he trusted the fact that Ms. Clifton wouldn't lie to him about being pregnant.
She calls me, I think I'm pregnant. I didn't question her. I didn't say, is it mine, or why you calling me? Immediately, because I've known her in the past, and I know she's not the one to even play like that. So, yes, I was like, okay, but she's pregnant, okay, cool, I guess we're having a kid.
At that point, you accepted
Yes,
that
ma'am.
you were the father.
Yes, Your Honor.
When did you start doubting it?
I get a random text.
Let's just say Ms. Clifton ran out of luck trying to play the love triangle with two different men. Now, after Mr. Little found the text, he started to have doubts about being the father of the twins. The woman he trusted had lied to him, and now trusting anything she said felt like an impossible task.
Why would he think it would be a possibility? But you tell me they're mine, but you tell me, no, they're not his. But after I text you, you tell me, yes, he thinks it's a possibility. Why would he think that if you all hadn't been together previous before me and her?
So does this other man, does he know the children, have a relationship with them too?
He has a relationship with me, and he comes to see me. My kids
And
are there.
the kids,
My kids are always with me. I'm a real mom.
Take a chill pill, Ms. Clifton. I mean, she lied to him in the first place, so why is she acting like he's the villain? Judge Lauren noticed Ms. Clifton was trying to throw most of the blame on Mr. Little, and as you would expect, she was not going to entertain that in her courtroom. Judge Lauren gave Ms. Clifton a piece of her mind by saying this.
To use him, but to get some help from him. I might reach out to you, Judge, if we ain't got nothing. I'm gonna reach out to the game. If my kids need something, I'm reaching out.
When you reach out to me, you will hear me say, don't have no kids you can't afford to take care of.
Absolutely.
Stop to be on social media. So you have to be on social media media.
Well, Ms. Clifton got on the judge's nerves, that's for sure. After all the yapping from Ms. Clifton, Judge Lauren decided she wanted to hear from the witness she brought. Trust me, you could feel the anger and hatred she had towards Mr. Little.
Well, first of all, my daughter's self-sufficient. She's always worked and gone to school, and I'm very proud of her. Sam started out being a proud father, and I think jealousy raised this ugly head, which made him stop. You know, I taught my daughter to be self-sufficient, and if one won't, the other one will. When he stopped doing what he was gonna do, he left her and I to do what we are duty-bound to do, and that's raise them beautiful twins. And his whole long head, no, them his children.
I very much doubt these guys are going to get their case settled with all the yelling that's going on in the courtroom. The DNA results were in, and Judge Lauren was ready to reveal the identity of the father. Fingers crossed, people.
Mr. Little, you are not.
Not. God, I can't believe that. Or not? I thought for sure.
What are you thinking?
I don't know, because to be honest with you, I actually thought they were.
I do too.
To be honest with you.
In this situation, Mr. Watson wanted nothing more than to get married to his fiancée. The only problem was that he claimed his fiancée was sleeping with 2 different men, making him believe that he might not be the father of their 4-year-old son. He opened his case to the judge like this.
Mr. Watson, you are in court to prove that you are not the biological father of the defendant's 4-year-old son, Kevin. You say that while you were away, Ms. Mahoney was having sexual relationships with 2 different men, and either of them could be the father.
Yes, Your Honor.
For his sake and the hope of saving their relationship, let's hope the results come out in his favor. His fiancée, Ms. Mahoney, got very emotional when she was asked how the whole situation was affecting her and her child. Mr. Watson, on the other hand, was not bothered by any of that. All he wanted was to know if he was the father of the child.
Paternity doubt affecting your child.
Hard. He takes it hard. He looks up to him a lot. Sometimes he gets real short-tempered with him, and he just like he'll sit by him and he'll move away, and it's hard as a mother to see that.
And Kevin's 4, so he understands this rejection.
Yeah, it takes him really hard. He's sheltered now.
Oh, wow. Did he just refer to his supposed fiancée as that? Now I'm starting to have doubts if he really wants to tie the knot with Ms. Mahoney. Mr. Watson went on to explain to the judge how he found out his wife was messing around with other men. Trust me, it was a juicy story, but Ms. Mahoney claimed the men he was talking about were family friends.
Taking care of her. Now, me as a man personally, I'm not gonna do that for no woman.
Being a man, though, you should have left me.
I never left.
Ms. Mahoney, did you have 2 men living with you?
Yes, ma'am.
You did?
I had no job. I had nothing to fend for myself. They were close family friends, and they just wanted to help me help them. I agreed to let them stay, and if I needed some toilet paper down, anything.
The family friend said, yes, Ms. Mahoney, what have you really been up to? Now, Mr. Watson and Ms. Mahoney get into a heated argument about the other man claiming to be the father of the child. Mr. Watson claimed the other man was calling his son his child, but Ms. Mahoney denied the claims, saying this.
There's a difference between a father and a dad. Just know that.
What you mean? He the one talking about that. That's his kid.
He provided for him.
Okay, I was away. I couldn't.
When I called you and he was hungry, then what?
I was away. There was nothing I could do.
Like I said, there's a difference between being a father
so
and
if he was my kid, so bring other men around my kid?
That's a fair point. You can't control someone else's feelings, but you can most definitely control their presence in your house. In trying to bail herself out of the situation, she told the judge that the other guy in question wanted to ruin their relationship, so he told Mr. Watson that they slept with each other.
Why would a guy say to you?
I believe he probably does love me, but I don't love him and I needed help and all he wanted was a room, and that's all.
But why would he say you were having sex with him if you weren't?
Because he knows that if he were to tell him that he's gonna walk out and he's gonna leave me, and that's what happened.
So you're saying he's just saying that to break you apart?
And I'll be crying, upset, and he'll try to...
Oh, so Mr. Watson wasn't in the good books either. That explains why she felt very hurt by the situation. Still very hurt by the whole situation, she dropped a truth bomb in the courtroom claiming that they had a DNA test done before, and the results showed Mr. Watson as the father.
So I went and we got DNA.
You took a DNA test?
Yes, ma'am.
What happened?
I went and was on government assistance and child support. We had to comply with them. And they asked me who the father was. I told them who he was. and he ran from all the things. And finally they found him and had him go up there and take the DNA.
What did the DNA test say?
99.9%.
Now that just adds more drama to the entire case. Could the papers really have been forged? Who knows? Anyway, Judge Lauren decided to drill Ms. Mahoney a little by asking her if she was 100% certain that Mr. Watson was the father of her child and that she wasn't sleeping with anyone else. This was her answer.
Here.
Is there something you have not said? Is there another man that could potentially be Kevin's biological father?
No, ma'am. And
Are there any other men?
No, ma'am. We have broken up, and I've had other, relationships with men, but never around when I got pregnant.
Well, Ms. Mahoney and Mr. Watson have a lot on the line, and there's no denying that. Without wasting any time, Judge Lauren felt it was time to reveal the results in the envelope. Has Ms. Mahoney been lying all this while? Let's find out.
Mr. Watson, you are the father.
See? I love you. I love you so much.
I'm sorry, baby. I love you.
I love you so much.
I love you. I'm sorry, baby.
I know. It's okay. It's okay.
This is one messy situation you will never forget. Trust me, Ms. Bargy found herself in the middle of two men, her husband and her ex-boyfriend. The crazy thing about this situation was that both men believed they were the father of Ms. Bargy's baby, and she had no idea who the father was. She started her case by saying this.
Ms. Bargy, you and I spoke briefly in my chambers.
Yes, Your Honor.
You admit you cheated on your husband, and now you are caught in a paternity triangle, with both men believing they fathered your 2-month-old daughter, McKenna.
Yes, Your Honor.
You are hoping today's DNA results prove that your husband is her father.
At least she's not denying making a mistake, and the beautiful part is that she wants to find a way out. Judge Lauren, understanding the intensity of the situation, proceeds to ask her husband what type of bond he had built with the child. As you would expect, he loved the baby beyond words could explain.
Mr. Bargy?
Yes.
You've fallen in love with McKenna.
Yes.
Tell me about the relationship you have with her.
I could be at work for 10 to 12 hours a day. I take 5 minutes out of my time, busy or not at work, video call, sit here like that right there. I wake her up when I get home.
Aren't they just cute in that video? Anyway, Mr. Lawson, the ex-boyfriend, wasn't ready to give up his claim of being the father of the child even after seeing Ms. Bargy's husband and the baby bond so well. He decided to tell the judge the reason why he felt he was the father of the child and started like this.
I believe I am because I was around. She was with me when she got pregnant. I was there for the whole pregnancy. I was there when McKenna was born.
Ms. Bargy, can you explain to the court how we got here?
I was having issues with my husband when I came back. We had been together for about a month, and we ended up having intimate time.
Seems like the break from her marriage took a wild turn, and now she's paying the consequences. Now trust me, that's not all. When she found out she was pregnant, she told Mr. Lawson before her husband. Why? Because they were living together at the time. Oh, you heard right.
The day that I found out was the end of April. It was April the 27th. The whole month of April I was getting sick, and I took a pregnancy test, and then it came back that I was pregnant.
Who did you tell first?
I told my mother first, and me and Calvin had been living together.
Even Judge Lauren was disappointed to hear that, but there was more disappointment coming her way. Ms. Bargy never mentioned the pregnancy to her husband. She claimed she didn't have the courage to confront him about it, but here's how he found out.
The time when you actually got up the courage to tell your husband that you were pregnant and McKenna could be his child.
I did not tell my husband, period. He had a mutual friend that was on my Facebook, and they had actually sent him a picture of me posting an ultrasound, and then he started contacting me, and then finally I had to sit down with him and talk to him and tell him.
Wow, so she was sleeping with Mr. Lawson and her husband at the same time? That explains why they both feel they could be possible fathers of the baby. But the truth bombs keep getting worse. Ms. Bargy went on to tell the judge that she found out that her husband was also sleeping with his ex.
One time, and that was due to the fact that he had spoken to one of my friends, and they had talked about actually being together. My friend was one of his exes. His ex actually messaged me and was showing me messages that him and her were sleeping together when me and him.
Mr. Lawson?
Yes.
Oh, I'm siding with Judge Lauren. That's one big mess. Unlike Ms. Bargie's husband, Mr. Lawson had no relationship with the child in question. He claimed that when he tried to be in the child's life several times, Ms. Bargie was evasive because she wanted her husband to be the father of the child.
Right now, I don't have a relationship because when Miss Bargie left, we have talked and tried to set up times for me to see her, but there is a lack of information.
You feel like she's being evasive.
Your Honor, I have given him plenty opportunities to see her. I've called him 3 and 4 days in advance and said, look, do you want to see her on this day? And he'll say,
Could Mr. Lawson be lying about trying to see her child? Who knows? Ms. Bargie made one thing clear to the judge. She claimed that if Mr. Lawson ended up being the father, she wouldn't want him anywhere near her child.
If Mr. Lawson is McKenna's biological father, have you thought about where you go from here?
if Mr. Lawson is her father, I do not want him to be a part of her life, period. Like, I want rights terminated because my daughter deserves so much better. My husband has been there and took care of her since all this has happened. He has been an amazing father.
She must really dislike Mr. Lawson. Well, it's time we reveal the DNA results and bring their paternity drama to an end. Let's see if Ms. Bargie's prayers are going to be answered.
Mr. Bargie or Mr. Lawson is the father of 2-month-old McKenna Bargie. It has been determined by this court. The biological father is Mr. Lawson. You are McKenna's biological father, Mr. Lawson.
That's okay.
Ms. Schwartz opened her case to prove to her longtime lover that he was the biological father of her child. Even though she admitted that he was right to have doubts, she still believed he was the father of her child. The lover, on the other hand, claimed the baby belonged to her husband, and there was no way he could be the father.
Ms. Schwartz, you opened your case to prove to the defendant that he fathered your 9-month-old child, Azalyn.
Yes.
You understand his doubt, but state he is her father. Is that correct?
Yes.
Mr. Hatton, you claim you are not Azalyn's dad and are certain that her biological father is another man. And that man is the plaintiff's husband.
Yes, Your Honor.
Hold on. Did she just say they have 2 other children together? Oh, wow. Mr. Hatton, the defendant, wasn't going to sit there and just let her paint him like the bad guy. He cut Ms. Schwartz and told the judge about how messy her lifestyle was. Trust me, he had quite a lot to say.
Who makes almost $11 an hour, paid every 2 weeks, and only brings home $100? I mean, come on. I was born at night, just not last night.
Oh, okay.
I mean, Your Honor, I mean, I don't believe I'm the dad. I do question the way that she lives her life. I mean, it's reckless.
Reckless?
Yes.
If I were in that courtroom, I'd have the same reaction as Judge Lauren. Now, when Ms. Schwartz got pregnant, her relationship with Mr. Hatton wasn't particularly a bed of roses from what he could remember. He claimed they were always fighting and Ms. Schwartz would disappear after every fight.
What was the nature of your relationship?
Okay, the nature of our relationship wasn't good. Okay, it was bad, it was rough, it was rocky roads. We were fighting every day. I could say something and then she's gone. That's what she
So how long was she gone when she'd leave the house?
Like 2 weeks at a time.
2 weeks?
Yeah.
Congratulations. He definitely doesn't want to be the father of this child. When Ms. Schwartz was ready to give birth to her child, she wanted Mr. Hatton to be by her side throughout the entire process. But Mr. Hatton didn't have the stomach to be in the theater with her.
Azalyn was born the day she was born.
Man, she wanted me to look between her legs and pull the baby out. I ain't no doctor. I sure ain't name her.
He didn't want to witness none
You
of
were
it.
saying you didn't want to see that. And there are a lot of dads that can't see all that.
Because how my daddy raised me, no, there's things for a man to see in this world, and there's things that a man shouldn't see, and that's one of them.
Now that is just messed up, Ms. Schwartz. Naming your child after the 2 men she was sleeping with, that's another level of crazy. One thing Mr. Hatton made certain was that he was not the child's father. In his words, he claimed he was more of a caretaker than a father to the baby.
So listen, let's use respectful language. Mr. Hatton, I want to ask you this. So you believe Ms. Schwartz's husband is Azalyn's biological father?
With all due respect, it's not a matter of believing. I know he is.
And so how do you know?
Because, I mean, come on. I mean, you don't just go stay the night at people's houses when you're married, lay in the same bed and not do nothing.
Judge Lauren was tired of listening to Ms. Schwartz and Mr. Hatton go back and forth about who was telling the truth and who was lying. She decided it was time to hear from Ms. Schwartz's husband. When he walked into the courtroom, this was what he had to say to the judge. Trust me, you aren't ready for what he is about to say.
She told me she was cheating on me, and I let her go.
And I was also calling him on the phone right in front of you.
Yeah, and you guys even got into an argument one night, and I picked the phone up, called Hatton back, and talked you guys through it. I even took you the 250 miles to him.
So isn't this a love triangle like we ain't never seen before?
This has to be the craziest love triangle to ever exist in Judge Lauren's courtroom. Anyway, it's time the drama came to an end. Now, it's time to determine who the real father of the child is. This was the verdict the judge gave.
Pertaining to whether Mr. Hatton or Mr. Schwartz is the father of 9-month-old Azalyn Hatton, it has been determined by this court. The biological father is Mr. Hatton. She is your daughter, Mr. Hatton.
And I thank you, Your Honor.
Ms. Tinsley won't even allow Mr. Hunt to talk in this insane case. Mr. Hunt says he is one of the biggest rappers around, and that is why Ms. Tinsley wants him to be the father of her 3-year-old child. But she says that how can she be a gold digger if there ain't no gold to dig? And here is how this feisty clash all began.
Sure you're not.
Your Honor, I'm more in my city where I'm from. I'm like the hottest rapper around. Not to be sounding cocky or toot my own horn, but I'm on radios. I do shows for any major acts coming to the city. I'm doing my thing. She's a groupie. She's a groupie.
Far from a groupie.
She's got nothing going for herself. She's dead broke. She's
gotta keep a job.
She's coming at me for looking at dollar signs.
Yeah, let us hear about all of that. Ms. Tinsley obviously did not let Mr. Hunt being broke stop her from getting into his bed, and Mr. Hunt still liked this supposed groupie enough to sleep with her. So they need to stop the charade immediately and get to the bottom of this case.
Yeah, okay, a few years back, but I only hooked up with her one time.
That's a lie. We had sex several times.
One time.
We had sex several times, actually, Your Honor.
With several other guys? What about them?
I'm single. I don't got no man. I ain't married.
Now, this was just a one-night stand kind of thing?
Jump off, Your Honor. She's a groupie. That's what
I'm a jump off. I'm a groupie, though. I'm a groupie all of a sudden.
I found out about this chick when she came to me about the baby. I found out about it on Facebook over my mother's
That's a lie.
Wait, so Mr. Hunt has been incarcerated for a while and is still claiming he is this big rapper that Ms. Tinsley wants to steal from? Anyway, Ms. Tinsley says she is only claiming he is the father now because she did a previous test and found out the man she thought was her baby's daddy really wasn't. So he is the next possibility. Here is how that was laid down.
No, it was like over
kind of drugs are
a
you
couple
on?
of months period.
I mean, she's
Like a couple
sober.
months. But what you also admit to is that you were having sex with someone else during that very
ma'am,
same time.
I was single and I was kind of doing me. But
She
if I was
inboxed
so much
my
of a
mom.
slut, I would have 5, 6, 7 kids by 7 different men. I got 2 children by 2 different men.
And Ms. Tinsley says she even told Mr. Hunt that he was the next possibility if her ex-boyfriend turned out not to be the father. Then people started finding out that big old rapper Mr. Hunt could be a baby daddy, which got our big-time rapper really upset.
Yana, she waited 3 years, Yana. I went to jail for 2 years. She waited 3 years. She waited till after I had a buzz in my city. I'm on the radio. I'm opening for major acts. And then she came to me with this baby.
I cannot
talking
believe
about
this
she trying to put a
man.
baby on me after she seen that I'm doing things. I'm moving places. I'm going
This is
around.
what fame does
This
to
is-
people.
this is
So
what-
changes people.
this is
So
what it-
let me ask you this
Why would you
because
come to me 3 years later then?
he's saying
This is really a mess. And at this point, you kind of start feeling really sad for the baby because these two don't seem like they are going to build very functional families anyway. Anyway, Mr. Hunt is still hung up on calling Ms. Tinsley a groupie because he just thinks the baby isn't his.
why she was a tad bit
Yana,
tardy
she's a groupie.
on the
Yana.
request.
I'm not a groupie.
Yana, she's showing up at, I told you I opened for major acts. She's showing up at the club with this baby on her arm, Yana.
That's a lie.
She's
I
showing
never came
up
to
at
the
the
club
club
with
with
my
this
daughter.
baby on her arm, Yana.
I never came
seen
to
this
the
in my
club
life,
with my
Yana.
daughter.
Really? In Dog Club with a baby? Ms. Tinsley says this is a big fat dumb lie and that it absolutely never happened. But bringing a baby to the club seems like something anyone would remember, so it is either Mr. Hunt is lying or Ms. Tinsley is, but he has even more accusations.
Not only the club though, Yana. She's coming to the studio. I'm leaving out the studio with me and my friends, my partners. We leaving out. She's showing up at the studio with this baby.
You agreed to do the blood test. Why you agreed to do it before then? What made you change your magic markets?
So, Miss Tinsley, you're saying that there was a time
time when he agreed flat out, I'll take the blood test.
Yeah, he agreed to it, and they was gonna cut off my welfare check if I didn't get nobody tested.
Well, it seems like a little tiny bit of both. Anyway, both Mr. Hunt and Ms. Tinsley have had their fun and made their accusations. It is now time to learn the truth and see whether this blowing up rapper now has a child to call his own, or if Miss Tinsley is just some annoying deranged groupie.
Mr. Hunt, you are not her father.
Thank you, Jesus. Yeah, wow. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Good luck to you, Jamie, in finding your daughter's father.
Ms. Brown submitted a swab of another child when she was supposed to conduct a DNA test to see if Mr. Sensibo was the father of her child. But now she is saying she has turned a new leaf and that the baby is definitely his. But Mr. Sensibo and his mother are in court to say that is absolute nonsense.
Such a mother's boy, and that I was dealing with his mother.
How am I a mother's boy?
I would be dealing with his mother more than him. I didn't lay with her, I laid with him. It ended when we were supposed to, we had a conversation, and he had said that he was ready to man up and move in together, so I had found an apartment.
And boom! That is how the relationship went bust. But something must have happened before Mr. Sensibo would do that. Well, our guy has something else to say, and it is very shocking.
It wasn't even all like that. Like, it wasn't even all how it seemed to be right now. Like, the relationship, she was still talking to her, you feel me, her ex, you feel me? So, like, what was I supposed to do?
Greg, you know the honest to God truth that you told me you was ready to settle down.
Man.
You know that's the honest to God truth.
Regardless of all this, what brings us here is the lie.
That is true. This is no couple mediation court, but sometimes the couple's drama is very important because it tells us a bit about who is telling the truth or not. Anyway, the question here is whether Ms. Brown slept with her ex after sleeping with Mr. Sensibo. But Ms. Brown has her own evidence, which is a calendar. And you know Judge Lauren loves highlighting calendars.
The dates you were intimate with both men on a calendar, okay? In green are the days you were intimate with Mr. Sensibo.
Yes, ma'am.
But even looking at this calendar, it lets me know that she even lied about something else, because I was told she took a plane to Oklahoma, and then when she got off the plane, she was throwing up, I guess, experiencing morning sickness. Now here we go, you drove.
Greg knew.
You told me. I don't know what you told Greg or what he knew.
So the lies are coming out now. You really have got to get your stories straight before coming to paternity court, because if you don't, you are going to get outed. Anyway, Mr. Sensibo's mom has her own theories about the pregnancy, and it is crazy.
You didn't talk to me until after you had your baby. That made me conclude that you didn't want to talk to nobody or say nothing, so you could see who the baby resembled, so you can put that baby on somebody, and it just happened to be my son.
This is why I didn't want to say anything.
She looks for love in all the wrong places.
At the end of the day, she didn't care about.
You don't even know
She didn't
me.
care about the baby feelings. She cared about the men feelings. Like,
that is a lot of accusations, but for some weird reason, Ms. Brown is just sitting and taking it. Is it because she knows something we don't, or she is just bluffing? Anyway, Miss Brown told Mr. Sensibo here that he was the father. Immediately, she got pregnant, and he tried to step up. And this is what happened.
So that he'd be able to bond with the child, being that she had three other children. This one child, it shouldn't have affected her, other than just her being the mother of the child, for her to come bond with who was supposed to be the daddy.
She was so worried about.
You think I was gonna send my child to California with somebody that
you agreed to it?
But did I do it? Did I do
you
it?
back down.
If I was in California, I would have let them visit her.
Okay, the mom here is making a lot of great points, but Ms. Brown says she was not sleeping with the mom, so how can she trust her? Well, Mr. Sensibo got shot 6 times, and this kind of changed his mind.
My son has had 2 different separate near-death experiences.
He had.
So does he have to die for the truth to come out?
What happened?
He's been shot.
And that's the lifestyle that I didn't want to let my daughter leave with.
You was messing with him at the time of his lifestyle.
It don't matter. My kids was nowhere involved, unattended with this man.
Well, Your Honor, I almost lost my life. I got shot 6 times. I got shot in the head, in the arm, in the back, in the butt.
That is shocking. But Ms. Brown is now saying that she never told Mr. Sensibo that the baby was his, and that she just said it was a possibility. But Mr. Sensibo says that when she saw the child's photo, she just wanted to check in, and that is when she discovered that the baby could really be her grandchild. Anyway, Ms. Brown never actually confirmed it and kept lying through the process. This is how that happened.
The timeline of lies is week 1. I purchased the DNA test, to which she agreed to take. I honestly believed that she would go forth with doing it, and there wouldn't be no problems. But I ended up waiting 8 weeks, 2 months for her to send it in. Finally, she sends it in the DNA sample. Week 11, the results came in. I got an email in the middle of the night.
And what did the results say?
That there was 0 probability of paternity.
Really? Did Ms. Brown really do that? That is insane. So what is the truth? Did she really swap one of her other kids just for spite? Well, Ms. Brown admits that yes, she did lie, but it was for a good cause.
That was a lot of lies.
It was.
Most of which you admitted to. Why so many lies?
Because the whole time I was dealing with her, I should have been dealing with him, and that's how I felt personally.
And that's because I cut her off, Your Honor.
Yeah, that was probably a good choice because it seems Ms. Brown here is a dedicated liar. But Ms. Brown says that she is just a little victim and everyone is just victimizing her. Yup, that is right.
He was here to make me out to be the bad guy.
You are the bad guy.
She was sending pictures. Okay, I'm posting them on Facebook, Instagram, or whatever. Like this is my baby. Like you like this. Like it's my baby. Like showing everybody. So she called me like, why would you do that? Why would you do that?
At the moment, yeah.
I need you to speak up now. Don't get quiet on me.
Yeah, I did.
Why?
Because my ex was thinking that Malaya was his.
Now, why would your ex ever think something so preposterous? Anyway, Ms. Brown says that she just did not want to break their family up. The only real way to get to the bottom of all of this is to get the DNA test results. And here is what those results say.
Mr. Sensabaugh, you are not her father.
Yes.
Ms. Brown, you look relieved. Ms. Montoya, you look crushed.
Ms. Ham slept with Mr. Kisner's best friend, and she is now claiming that the child definitely belongs to Mr. Kisner. Mr. Kisner and his family think this is a lie, but Mr. Kisner betrayed his family just to get back with Ms. Ham. And today, we are going to get to the end of this family drama. Here is how it starts.
Well, he may be there physically for Zayden, but he's not there financially. He doesn't have a steady job. He doesn't do as much as I would want him to do.
Have you been there for the child, Mr. Kisner?
Yes, I haven't been there, but yes, I have.
Miss Willen, you said you tired of playing daddy because you got to step up.
Yeah, he is there right now.
Wow, that means that Mr. Kisner has not supported this child financially at all, and he is extremely emotional about it. In fact, he says that he betrayed his family by even being present for the child at all, and that is because they believe the child isn't his. Of course, Ms. Ham says this is a complete lie.
I don't agree with that. We have photos right here, and you put them side to side, and they look exactly alike.
Which photos did you bring? May I see those, please, Jerome? What are these photos of, Ms. Ham?
It's Zayden and him when they were both babies.
Well, Your Honor, she slept with my close friend.
Oh.
I've known since I was little.
Did you sleep with his good friend, Ms. Ham?
Yes, I did.
And Ms. Ham admits that she did it. She says that the friend had broken up with her good friend and that Mr. Kisner was not paying her any attention, so she did the extremely sensible thing. She broke up with him and then slept with his friend and then told him after the fact, and they continued the relationship. Now it is time for the billion-dollar question.
Not besides his friend, and then that's it. I got taken advantage of at a party, and that was in like September.
Your Honor,
where she
can I
was
please
at?
say something?
Yes, ma'am.
She was in a bad place before she had Zayden. That's why I was so worried.
Well, when she talks about going to
self-medicating, she
hotel
was doing
rooms
drugs.
with men and drinking and doing drugs, you know,
That
I
was
have to
one
ask
day.
the difficult questions when you're drinking and doing drugs.
Ms. Ham is extremely certain that the child belongs to Mr. Kisner, and that is that about that. She has even turned her life around and is now a completely different person. But then, Ms. Ham's mom starts saying something really weird.
Didn't have her biological father. I made a choice when she was young that I wasn't gonna have a bad life for her. So my husband and me have been raising her together since she was 3 months old. So she is his, not biologically, but in any way that counts. So they have to make a choice if they are gonna put that in the past and be a family and move on positively, or if he is gonna throw that in her face that Zayden is not his.
Yeah, okay, but what is the point? The fact that Ms. Ham's father is not hers biologically does not mean that Mr. Kisner here also has to raise a child that is not biologically his. That is an insane standard to set for a young man, no matter how you look at it. Anyway, here's what Mr. Kisner thinks about all this doubt business.
Child is not yours.
Your Honor, I have so much doubt.
I don't believe that, because when I was around him in the beginning for 6 months, he was, you know, all about Ashley's pregnancy. And every time he had doubt was when he came back from his family's house, okay?
So you feel like he was
wanna
buying in, he was trying to step into this role of father. And
Well, at least let the man speak for himself. Anyway, let us now actually see who is speaking the truth. Is Mr. Kisner the father, or is someone else this baby's father? It is time to end the charade and see who the father really is.
Mr. Kisner, you are not the father. Obviously, there were some facts left out of your testimony. Do you know who Zayden's father is, since it's been determined that it is not?
Really not.
You don't really know?
I just don't get it. I was with him every day.
Mr. Page is 1,000,000% certain that Ms. Brooks was sleeping with her friend while she dated him, and that her child actually belongs to that friend. However, Ms. Brooks says this is just nonsense, and that child could never belong to Mr. Wilson. Let's see how this entire drama began.
She every time I come home from work, she out with Mr. Wilson. So I don't know what she's doing at work. When I'm at work, she calls me. When I'm at work, I call her. But when I'm getting off, she'll don't pick up, don't nothing. I call everybody that she hangs around with, they won't pick up. So to me, I think she tells them not to pick up the phone when everything's going on. When I come home, he might have my child holding him, whatever, I don't know.
Wow, this relationship is really on the rocks. And honestly, it seems like they have more issues than just a paternity issue. Because even without a paternity issue, it seems this is not a sustainable living arrangement. The funny thing is, Ms. Brooks says that Mr. Page was great when she was pregnant, but Mr. Page has a different view of this issue.
Thing ain't changed, Your Honor. What changed is her not being home when I come home at night with her and my son being around Mr. Wilson, her friend. That's what it comes from.
This man, Mr. Wilson, was he the ex you were in a 9-year relationship with?
The ex that I was in a 9-year relationship with was a female. That means I had no penetration whatsoever in 9 years.
And she's still talking to her now.
Well, clearly she's not the father.
Yeah, okay, so she is not the problem. So who is the problem, and how do they contribute to the doubt that Mr. Page has about this kid being his own? Let us see what Mr. Page has to say about.
Longer than she knew me, so they've been messing around or whatever they've been doing. I know Black's Facebook page is dedicated just to her and my son. And I have evidence right here saying that, yes.
Let me see this evidence. Jerome?
That is just my friend. We take
Tell me if that looks, please tell me if that looks like a relationship or a friendship.
We go out, Your Honor, he helps.
There's no space in between the bodies, Your Honor.
Okay, first of all, why is that the header of Mr. Wilson's Facebook page? Ms. Brooks says they are just friends, but it kind of looks like they might be something more. I mean, if you didn't know either of them, you would rightly assume that they were in a relationship. And it kind of gets worse.
All photos of you,
all dedicated to
Mr. Wilson. That's the baby in there?
Yes.
But that's just a picture of me and the baby, though.
But they
it's
always
on his,
with each other.
It's one of his profile pictures.
Yes, I'm the best thing that's...
I mean, look at that.
And then that's Mr. Wilson with Ivian.
Yes, and he has been there. Like, he is really upset because...
How has he been there?
He's been there because you're not.
With him.
Wow, she cleared him with that. It seems Mr. Page is only doubting Ms. Brooks because he just can't handle the financial responsibilities that come with being a father. He just can't do it. He is trying and trying, but it just ain't working. But Ms. Brooks is also kind of at fault because of this.
It's a lie. I was there. I waited till he was born and I left. I had to go to work. I can't call out 2-3 days in a row thinking I'm gonna still have a job. They don't care about that, so I had to go to work.
I'm afraid to ask this, but after Mr. Page left, did Mr. Wilson make an appearance?
Yes.
Yes, he made an appearance, but way later. Because I made him.
He didn't come to the next day, but when I come to the place, I got my son ready to walk out the door.
Whoa, that is sure to get any man angry. Mr. Page says Mr. Wilson never lets anyone know that the child isn't his and that he is merely the godfather, and he blames Ms. Brooks for this. And here is how Mr. Page puts it.
Telling them that they're having sex and all this.
He's saying what?
That they're having sex.
Who's
Friends,
he telling
rumors.
this to?
Mr. Wilson does go around lying to people and saying that he had sex with me. I did not know that at first. I recently found out. Me and him had a problem with each other. Of course, I told him this because I'm upset about this. Because but we were in the out first.
But they're still best friends.
Wow. That is insane. And Mr. Page says that Ms. Brooks always tells him that he is not the father of the child. But Ms. Brooks says she says that because she gets angry. Anyway, here is what Mr. Wilson says about the entire situation.
We're still best friends. That's like one of the fellas, you know, that's my homie, except for she's female.
So you're best friends?
Yes.
What is...
on my lunch breaks, stop past Sam, I spend time with him, take him to the park. How would that be allowed? You never there. You too busy playing the game, chilling with your homeboys.
I don't have no homeboys and friends. When I get off, I go to work, get off work. I might play the video game, but best believe my son got a bottle in his mouth, or my potential son has a bottle in his mouth.
Whoa, Mr. Wilson really has a lot of things to say to Mr. Page, but their issues are not the point of this entire case. The point is to see who the real father is, and it is now time to read out the DNA test results and see.
Mr. Wilson, you are not the father.
Told you.
Mr. Page, you are the father.
Told you. Now, Ronnie, to go through all of this just to prove that. All of this.
No sense that you with somebody who keep lying on you. That don't make no sense.
We see a lot of deadbeat dads on this show, but this one is on a whole other level. Miss Phillips is suing her ex-boyfriend, Mr. Gibbies, for $1,000 in child care expenses. She's convinced he's the father of her 2-month-old daughter, Jordan, but he's been dodging paternity tests like a pro. This is gonna get Messiah.
You are suing your ex-boyfriend for $1,000 in child care expenses you claim he has ignored since denying that he is the father of your 2-month-old daughter, Jordan, whom he refuses to meet. Today, you have petitioned the court for a paternity test to prove he is the father and are looking to recover your $1,000 child care expenses.
So right away, Miss Phillips is spilling the tea. She's telling the judge how she thought Mr. Gibbies was the one for her. But hold up, he goes to a spiritual convention and comes back telling her to hit the road. She ends up in a hotel crying her heart out.
Then he goes to a spiritual convention.
Yes.
And comes home and tells you get out.
Yeah, he told me he had to go because he was working on himself or whatever. So I was like, well, it's late. You know, can I just wait till the morning, just go to my grandmother's house? Because, you know, it was late.
It's middle of the night.
Yes, it was like 12, 1, 2 maybe. So he takes me to a hotel. I'm in the car crying, boo-hooing. I'm like, why? You know, why? He was like, he can't do this no more. He gotta do right.
Mr. Gibbies, on the other hand, isn't holding back either. He's throwing shade left and right, claiming Miss Phillips has a history of being, well, let's just say, not so faithful. He's convinced he's not the father of little Jordan and isn't about to cough up that cash.
Ignores that I'm even there. I'm asking her, I said, hey, you going with me or not? Nah,
And
so
she's
you want to
shaking
stay?
her head yes.
Yeah, so she want to stay here with the guy that I just got into an altercation with. Then the next event, we get to.
Let me stop at that event because I need to understand from Miss Phillips now. Why is it if you came to the party with him and you guys were together when there was an altercation, why didn't you leave with him?
The only reason why I didn't leave with him because the dude was still hot. I've been around that family for years.
Now, things take a spicy turn when Mr. Gibbies spills the beans about Miss Phillips allegedly cheating. He's dropping bombshells left and right, claiming she admitted to being unfaithful. Trust issues? Anyone? Oh, and there's more.
She told me that, but when I first got back, she told me that she didn't. Nothing happened. I was with my brothers. That story stayed for about a month and a half until finally she broke out and said, yeah, I did cheat, but it wasn't with who I was with that night.
So the trust is going out the window, but you're still with her?
I'm still with her. Then another situation where I was with, talking to a friend of mine outside during a party, and he was telling me, I was with this one girl, man. We was in the back seat, we doing it.
Miss Phillips tries to defend herself, explaining why she didn't leave with Mr. Gibbies at a party and how she was just trying to keep the peace. But Mr. Gibbies ain't buying it, folks. He's got his doubts and he's not afraid to voice them.
I didn't even feel good about it at all. But when I go through his stuff, the bag that he took to Miami, I see condoms in the open and they open and one missing.
Had the relationship ever been positive?
Yeah, it's been
for
good.
You?
Yeah, it's been good. A lot of times, like, cause it's been times that we actually did things together. I mean, we acted like a family. He had his 2 girls, I had my boy. We was, we was doing things we were supposed to do in a relationship. We just had a real relationship. It just.
Yep. Just when you think things couldn't get any crazier, Mr. Gibbies drops another bombshell about a mysterious black car incident. He's painting Miss Phillips as a real wild child, and she's not taking it lying down. The courtroom is heating up.
Statement to the court, you also talked about text messages.
I had went to jail for about 2 months, and when I got back out, the first thing I'm gonna do is go through your phone. Multiple dudes are in there making flagrant text messages. I'm horny for you, daddy, and all this other kind of stuff.
And that's a lie. It wasn't sexual.
Multiple text messages from multiple different guys. Five different numbers at least.
But yeah,
I even called a couple of them back, and I'm like, hey.
With accusations flying left and right, it's getting hard to know who's telling the truth. Miss Phillips is adamant that Mr. Gibbies is the father of her daughter, while he's standing his ground, denying it all.
A long distance relationship,
so I
but
left.
how much can I do this when I'm not at doctor's appointments? I'm not there doing the pregnancy of this child. The labor of this child. I'm not there. I'm absent. But even still, when she came back for her birthday, I took her out. She came back to visit for another reason. She ain't come down to visit for me. She came down to visit for another reason.
So she left.
She left.
During that time, you kept in contact, but you didn't make the effort to go down to see her.
And just like that, it's time for the moment of truth. Will Mr. Gibbies step up and take responsibility, or will Miss Phillips be left to raise little Jordan on her own? Strap in, folks. The DNA results are in.
Mr. Gibbs, this court has determined that you are her father.
That's it.
How do you feel?
I'm completely fine with that. It never was a point where I felt like I didn't want. Well, I mean, we got the determination, and I can move on and be a
Like, I
father.
would be that nasty to not know who my baby dad is.
Ever heard of selective memory? If not, listen to this. So we've got Mr. Webb here claiming he never had any hanky-panky with Ms. Cole, but she's out here saying otherwise. His stage is set, and things are about to get wild.
There's no chance whatsoever that you fathered the defendant's 6-month-old daughter, Majestic. You say your evidence will shock this courtroom. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, Ms. Cole, you and your mother say you're 100% certain that Mr. Webb is your child's biological father and say the only reason he's denying your baby is to save his relationship with the woman he's been with for the past 3 years. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right.
Ms. Cole is convinced that Mr. Webb is the father of her baby girl, Majestic. She's not holding back, and neither is her mom, who's in the courtroom ready to spill all the tea. Mr. Webb drops a bombshell. He says he never even slept with Ms. Cole. The audience is shook, and so are we.
And I know he stayed with me for 2 months, and he slept in my bed with me for 1 night, and we had sex. April 11th.
That's when you believe you conceived your daughter?
Yeah.
Mr. Webb, this is strange. What was the nature of your relationship?
We never had sex or anything. We were just friends. We would chill out. That was it.
You were never intimate with her in any way?
I never stayed in her bedroom. I stayed out on the couch.
Ms. Cole is sure that they did the deed on a wild party night. Mr. Webb insists they were just friends, chilling out, and never crossed any lines. But Ms. Cole isn't backing down, and her mom is there to back her up. It's a he said, she said situation, and it's about to get worse.
When I told her to take it down, she refused to because she's crazy.
You know dang good and well that me and my husband took care of you the whole time you were there.
I didn't see you for one time the whole time I was there.
Yeah, you were in her.
All right, let's get some order.
You're right, so you need help just much.
Let's get some order. So, Ms. Cole, you said you and your husband were taking care of Mr. Webb?
Yes, and my grandkids and anybody else that needed.
The judge is trying to get to the bottom of this mess, asking Mr. Webb why he was staying with Ms. Cole if he had a girlfriend. Things are getting spicy.
Let's be respectful.
So anyway, she was telling me that they were sleeping together and stuff. He wasn't even there for 3 weeks. He was there for a week, maybe a week and a half.
Just over there?
Yes, he was I knew they were hanging out.
I don't understand this, do you, Jerome?
I never knew they were talking.
We didn't even know that
I never knew.
You didn't know we had
5 or 6 times a day. How did you not
She's
know?
the one that called me with his friend.
She had heard her voice in the background numerous times. How does that make sense?
Ms. Cole recounts the night she believes she conceived Majestic. It's a wild story, and Mr. Webb is squirming in his seat. The tension in the courtroom is palpable, and we can't wait to see how this plays out.
Move on, and this is not doing either of us any good, so just do me a favor and stay out of my life in the inbox. At this point, I'm thinking, I feel like she's trying to say that I'm the baby daddy, but just hinting, not actually saying it.
All right.
Okay, so here's the second one. This is what came next. I told her, I said, I'm not trying to be mean, I just want this to end. Because I'm not a mean person, I'm not a hateful person. But when it comes to her and what she's put me through with the lies the last year.
Mr. Webb's web of lies is unraveling as Ms. Cole reveals more details about their alleged night of passion. The audience is gasping, and we're here for all the juicy details. This case is heating up, and things are about to boil over.
Did he ever acknowledge that he was the father?
He admitted to my
you are a liar.
He admitted to my cousin that he was the dad.
What do you think, Mr. Webb, is Miss Cole's motive if you say you've never slept with her? Why manufacture all of this?
I think she's obsessed with me. She's obsessed with me or something.
No.
I don't know what it is. I've been trying to figure out
There's
the
one
last
reason
year.
why I'm here.
Her
to
dad
know
is.
for sure he's the dad.
The back and forth between Ms. Cole and Mr. Webb is reaching a boiling point, with accusations flying left and right. It's a showdown of epic proportions. Ms. Cole's mom is calling Mr. Webb a punk bum and spilling all the tea about their awkward living situation.
When were you intimate with the other guy?
You don't even know.
May 15th, 16th.
How do you get those two mixed up? That's over a month. How are you gonna say that you think it's him and then over a month?
Because the due date.
The due date.
The doctor gave the due date.
These are things that she has literally made herself believe. She made herself believe these lies that she's telling.
But Mr. Webb says he never slept with you.
And he did.
But he did.
For sure, yeah.
The judge is trying to make sense of it all, but the chaos in the courtroom is reaching peak levels. As the tension mounts, Ms. Cole and Mr. Webb continue to go back and forth, with no end in sight. But we don't have all day, so Judge Lake intervenes with the best thing we've heard all day. It's time for DNA test results.
Mr. Webb, you are not her father.
Yeah, you're crazy. You need to go to a mental hospital.
Ms. Webb.
There, get her there, get her there.
Mr. Webb, Ms. Reams. Stop.
But I want a lie detector.
Listen, we don't clown in this courtroom.
Ms. Mitchell claims that her childhood sweetheart, Mr. Robinson, stole her virginity and got her pregnant with their daughter, Raya-Lynn. But, hold on, Mr. Robinson is denying paternity because he found out Ms. Mitchell was allegedly sleeping with 4 other men. So much for stolen virginity.
Today, because you claim your childhood sweetheart stole your virginity, got you pregnant, and is now denying paternity of your 2-month-old daughter, Raya-Lynn.
Yes, Your Honor.
And Mr. Robinson, in your defense, you claim you doubt paternity because after Ms. Mitchell told you she was pregnant, you found out she was sleeping with 4 other men.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Mitchell testifies, saying that Mr. Robinson pressured her into losing her virginity, and boom, she ends up pregnant. One time, folks, just one time. But wait, did they use protection? Nope, no protection in sight. And that's how baby Raya-Lynn came into the picture.
Did you use protection?
No.
No protection. All right, so that's a recipe for
disaster.
Well, no, for baby making. And for responsibility and consequence.
Disaster.
So hold on now, ma'am. Hold on one second. I'm gonna get to you in one moment. So you tell him you're pregnant.
Yeah. She didn't even tell me she was pregnant, Your Honor. She had one of her friends she grew up with.
Now, here's where it gets juicy. Mr. Robinson claims he only found out about the other men in the picture through some mysterious Facebook messages. Who's spreading the gossip? We don't know, but it's getting messy. Ms. Mitchell, on the other hand, is standing her ground, saying it's all a big fat lie. Who's telling the truth? We're about to find out.
And Hope was raised better than to lay around sleeping with men. And as far as him saying that he was in jail, I have proof right here that he didn't get arrested until 2 days after the baby was born.
So if he was in jail, if he was in jail, how did he get arrested again?
With my daughter in the hospital. And yes, his sister was there, and I said, well, where's Ryan?
It wasn't the day after, it was the 9th.
I'm the one that said.
Fast forward to the birth of baby Raya-Lynn. Was Mr. Robinson there to witness the miracle of life? Nope. He sent his sister instead. Yeah, he sent his sister to the birth of his child. That's a new one. But wait. Mr. Robinson tries to clear his name, saying he was actually in jail at the time.
I was picked up on more than one charge.
And I was laying in a bed for 14 hours in labor.
He literally.
And you chose to lay on
the bed.
Okay, and nobody actually
you had nothing in it. You had nothing in it.
Okay, but
he
didn't cheat on me, sweetie. We wasn't together. I've never done anything to this girl ever. I've never disrespected
She's immature
her. I never
and childish.
nothing.
Ms. Mitchell's mom, Diana, steps in with some receipts, proving that Mr. Robinson was only arrested 2 days after baby Raya-Lynn was born. So, if he was in jail, how did he manage to send his sister to the hospital? The plot thickens, folks.
She won't let her spend time with me because of Heather, which has no reason. If she is mine, she has 3 other siblings. She has 2 brothers.
0.
She has 2 brothers and a sister. Regardless if they're not mine biologically, I've raised them as mine for the last 3 years of my life. They call me father. They look up to me as a father because I've been there when their father hasn't.
The drama continues as Ms. Mitchell and her mom stand firm against Mr. Robinson's claims. Who's telling the truth in this tangled web of lies and accusations? It's a showdown of he said, she said, and there's only one way this ends, with the DNA test results.
Mr. Robinson, you are the father. So now, before I ask Ms. Mitchell if it would be okay if you meet your daughter for the first time, I have to say, concerning the arbitration.
Ms. Strong just brought Ms. McLean to court to prove that her husband is not the father of Ms. McLean's 14-month-old daughter, Angel. Yeah, I needed a minute to process that too. The plot thickens when Ms. McLean claims that Mr. Strong is indeed the father. It's another tangled web of relationships.
Ms. McLean to court to prove that your husband did not father her 14-month-old daughter, Angel. You say 1 month ago, Ms. McLean calls you out of the blue and claimed Mr. Strong was her child's father and demanded he take care of her. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. McLean, you say your daughter is the product of a night of passion gone wrong, and you are certain Mr. Strong is the father. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
It all started when Ms. Strong and Ms. McLean decided to have a threesome with Mr. Strong for their birthdays. Yep, you heard that right, threesome for birthdays. Things escalated quickly, and before they knew it, they were in court trying to figure out who the daddy is.
She did get pregnant, of which we were under the understanding there was a medical reason she couldn't.
So before you all had this threesome, you set parameters?
Yes, Your Honor.
What were the rules?
It would always be the 3 of us, never separately. If a baby came out of it, we'd raise it together, the 3 of us.
You all were this thorough?
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you get it in writing?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Strong, you were nervous at first.
Yes, Your Honor.
Can you imagine sitting down with your friends and planning out the rules for a threesome? Well, that's exactly what these three did. They set parameters, like always being together and raising any potential baby as a trio. Talk about a modern family.
So you had more than one threesome?
Yes, ma'am.
How many more threesomes did you have?
We've had a total of 8 of them. We've
8
had
times?
8 of them since before my daughter's birth and after. 2.5 to 3 weeks after we had our very first threesome, I found out I was pregnant.
And you said you had 8 of them?
Correct.
So you were still having threesomes with them through your pregnancy?
And after.
Okay. Mr. and Ms. Strong, when Ms. McClain came and told you she was pregnant.
But wait, it gets even juicier. Ms. McClain drops the bombshell that she found out she was pregnant just 2.5 to 3 weeks after their first threesome. And get this, they had a total of 8 threesomes before and after her pregnancy. That's a lot of bonding time.
But to be honest with you, a white person and a black person can still have a white baby.
Well, no, they can't.
They technically can, not to argue with you. Look
I
it
have
up.
mixed nieces and nephews.
No,
and
what they can have
is an albino, but still.
Is a biracial child. You are correct, Miss McClain, that a black man and a white woman can make very fair-skinned children.
Damn! So Ms. McClain is in a relationship with someone else while having threesomes with Mr. and Ms. Strong. Drama alert! She kept telling her boyfriend at the time that he was the father, but with 8 threesomes in the mix, things are about to get even messier.
I haven't been around either. We were going back and forth to Chicago to all the doctors for her eye. She has a problem with her eye. It's a hemangioma. Her blood vessels grow too quickly in her eye. My daughter was more important than even contacting them.
So you said we'll deal with DNA issues later?
Correct.
Understood. But now you feel certain Mr. Strong is Angel's biological father.
I do.
When Ms. McClain finally reveals she's pregnant, Ms. Strong asks if it's Mr. Strong's child, to which Ms. McClain says no. But with all the steamy nights they've had together, who knows what the truth really is? This is like a soap opera playing out in real life.
And so you have opened up your home and your hearts to this little girl.
Yes, ma'am.
And you as well, Ms. Strong.
Absolutely.
And it's because you knew openly that you were going into this threesome situation and you all obviously weren't being responsible and using any type of extra birth control. Well, because Ms. McClain thought she couldn't get pregnant again.
She said she had an accident, which we knew about the accident, that she couldn't have children from. That's what we looked at.
As the court proceedings unfold, Ms. Strong is adamant that Angel does not look African American, which throws yet another twist into the mix. Ms. McClain argues that a white person and a black person can have a white baby, but Ms. Strong is not buying it.
She's been telling me for, a year that she's not, but I went back to the time of conception and she didn't leave my bed that night, so.
She didn't leave your bed?
No.
And she told us for a year that he wasn't the father, and that's the only reason we're here today. There would have been no question if she would have just came to us.
This is something else. When's the last time the three of you had a threesome?
2 weeks ago.
I would say 2 weeks and 3 days.
The back and forth between the parties is heating up as they try to unravel the mystery of Angel's paternity. With multiple possibilities on the table, including Mr. Strong and an African-American man, the courtroom is buzzing with anticipation. Who will be revealed as Angel's biological father?
Mr. Strong, you are not the father. I'm sorry to have to deliver that news, Mr. and Ms. Strong. It seemed like you were very happy at the thought of having Angel as your little girl, but unfortunately you are not her biological father.
So we've got Mr. Fox here, who's not sure if Miss Hood is his daughter. He claims that Miss Tinker, the mother, was getting cozy with more than one man around the time of conception. Talk about a complicated family tree.
You say you've never been sure that Miss Tinker's daughter, Miss Hood, is your biological child. You claim that Miss Tinker was having sex with more than one man at the time her daughter was conceived, so it's been impossible for you to fully accept her into your life.
Yes, Your Honor.
Now, Miss Tinker admit to sleeping with multiple men.
Yes, Your Honor.
Miss Tinker is here to set the record straight after 20 years of waiting. She wants Mr. Fox to step up and take responsibility for their daughter. But hold up, she drops a bombshell. She told another man he was the father and even named her daughter after him. Drama alert.
Went around circles, played games, hung up on me, never gave me any real answer to why he's denying her.
For 20 years?
Yes, 20
Evasive
years.
for
I've been working with him.
20 years?
I've been trying to get him to understand that she's his daughter for 20 years.
But for the first 6 years, your daughter claimed that she thought another man, she was told another man was her father, and she's even named after him.
Yes, she is, Your Honor.
Now, Miss Hood is in the mix, and she's ready to walk away if the DNA test proves Mr. Fox is not her biological dad. She's even asking the court to change her last name to his if he turns out to be the father.
Not to my knowledge that I can remember. I can remember me being 3 months later.
Not that you can remember or not.
Your Honor, Your Honor,
It's been 20 years, Your Honor.
Your Honor, she had other boyfriends. She's messing around with other people too. She was smashing the homies and everybody else.
Okay, now, Mr. Fox, that's a strong allegation. Do you have proof of that? You were saying that while you were sleeping with Miss Tinker.
Miss Tinker spills the tea on how she thought another man was the father because Mr. Fox and his dad said he couldn't have kids. But wait, Mr. Fox comes in swinging, claiming Miss Tinker was smashing the homies. What a plot twist.
That might cause a doubt.
Okay, well, I can explain that, Your Honor.
And Your Honor,
I can explain that.
And Your Honor, first we met at a party, drunk. Both of us was drunk under the influence of alcohol.
Yeah.
She used to sneak outside. So why she acting like she was a church
my mama was
girl?
trying. Yeah, I was.
She snuck out the window. She snuck out the window.
Miss Tinker defends herself, saying she wasn't smashing any homies and that Mr. Fox was the one playing games. But Mr. Fox is still not convinced, especially since Miss Tinker had another man sign the birth certificate. Miss Tinker tries to explain, but Mr. Fox is not having it.
The paternity test, and we took the paternity test and he was proven not to be her father.
So now you've had a DNA test on this other man.
Yes, I did. He took the paternity test, he came back, my daughter was 16 months when he came back. He still was a better man than you, and he still took paternity of her and let her keep his name. And I felt he was a real good man, a better man than you would ever begin to be, and I went with that.
The drama continues as Miss Tinker reveals the chaotic circumstances surrounding Miss Hood's birth. From sneaking out of windows to signing birth certificates, this family saga has more twists and turns than a pretzel.
I do it at home. I didn't bring it with me because I thought it didn't matter. I thought my proof of my daughter being here looking like him was enough. I do have paternity papers.
Now, Miss Tinker, you knew you were coming to court.
Yes, I did.
When you come to court, you're supposed to bring all relevant paperwork.
Okay, but I know I am, but I really feel as if that other man and him stepping up and taking a paternity test has nothing to do with the fact that this man seen his daughter when she was 3 years old. He's seen who she looked like. He knows she don't. He knows the other man.
As the truth unfolds, Mr. Fox's doubts are put to the test. Miss Tinker stands her ground, determined to prove that Mr. Fox is the father of Miss Hood. Will the DNA test finally bring closure to this 20-year-old mystery?
Mr. Fox, you are her father.
Like I said a long time ago, and now when you gonna stand up? When you gonna stand up and take responsibility? I know, I wasn't smashing no homies. Sorry.
Can I give a hug, Your Honor?
Absolutely.
Apologize to you too, I'm sorry.
You may think Mr. Brown is an indentured servant, but he's really just a poor husband who was caught having an affair by his wife. Today, he's in court to prove that he isn't the father of 26-year-old Ms. Brown, and the case starts with both parties trying to interrupt Judge Lauren at every point.
Love triangle with him and his wife.
That's a lie, Your
Yes,
Honor.
Your Honor. 1 week ago, you reopened your child support case in which you state Mr. Brown owes you $20,624.08.
That's a lie. That's a lie, Your Honor.
Mr. Brown, you and your wife claim you can't be the father.
At least let the judge speak. Anyway, Ms. Brown has always been told that Mr. Brown here is her father, and Mr. Brown and his wife have always denied it. Today's the day we get to know the truth, and there are too many people trying to tell the court the truth. They aren't even letting themselves speak.
Cause my husband don't want her.
It's still going on.
She's still after my
26
husband.
years, it's still been going on. These people been denying my daughter for 26 years.
She don't know who her daddy is.
26 years they've been
Hold
denying
on.
my...
Ladies, give me a minute.
Yeah, give us a minute. You'll get all the time in the world you need to speak. Ms. Jackson, who is Ms. Brown's mom, says she met Mr. Brown at a club, and then they got hot for each other. And then one thing led to another, and then they made Miss Brown. Funny thing is that Mr. Brown was dating Mrs. Brown at the time, and this is what happened later that night.
We danced, we partied, and then we went to the apartment.
Is that an apartment?
Not mine.
it was
No, that's a
apartment.
lie. That's
it was
a lie.
apartment, Your Honor.
It wasn't my apartment.
It was their apartment. We was in the back of the room. She came in the door. She said, come on out, let me talk to you. She left, and then later on, we were still in the apartment. I didn't know that he was dating her.
This is really all shades of messy. Mrs. Brown admits that she caught Mr. Brown getting all hot with Ms. Jackson, and there we have it. It's a possibility that Mr. Brown is the father. And now this is what happened months later.
After that, this was some months later, when I got to my apartment, I unlocked the door with the key. So at that point, I had sliding walk-in closets. I heard my closet door slide open.
You could hear it.
Yes, ma'am. And I heard somebody grab the bed and went in the closet. I said, oh no. When I got inside, I went right to the closet, Open the door. She standing up there naked.
Mr. Brown, you dirty dog. And he looks like he knows he did all of this too. He isn't even denying it. But if Mr. Brown and Mrs. Brown all know that Mr. Brown slept with Ms. Jackson, why are they denying young Ms. Brown here? They must have a very good reason, right? Let's see.
I told him that I had a miscarriage. He stated to me, Your Honor, said that don't worry about nothing. We would try to have another child. I told the next time, I told him that I was pregnant. I took the test. I told him I was pregnant. We went to the clinic. The doctor has stated to me and him that I was pregnant.
So you went together. Mr. Brown, do you remember going with her to the clinic?
No, Your Honor.
And that's the most unconvincing no you'll ever hear on paternity court. I have absolutely no doubts that if Mrs. Brown weren't here, Mr. Brown would have no problem admitting this. But at least he remembers sleeping with Ms. Jackson without protection. So why does he deny Ms. Brown?
Well, Your Honor, I've seen too many things happen. Like one morning, I thought she was at work. Come to find out, she was out with another man.
Well, was she supposed to be committed to you when you were committed to her?
Yes, we was kind of like staying together.
Oh, so at that point, you and Ms. Jackson were living together?
Yeah, we was staying together.
Okay.
Sorry, Ms. Brown, but I don't think that's gonna fly today. Mrs. Brown really wants to say her piece, and she could care less. And look at her yap.
He told me he hadn't been home in 2 months, Your Honor.
Just, Honor, we were back and forth.
Your Honor.
Okay, and so when he was away and with Ms. Brown, were you with anybody else?
No, I was in Albany, Georgia. I was staying
And
with
during
my
that time, Your Honor, when
he'll come to Georgia on Friday, and he'll leave that Friday evening and go and back to Jacksonville to her.
Good. At least now we know what we're dealing with. Mrs. Brown insists that the timeline doesn't add up. She also says that anytime Ms. Jackson is asked for a DNA test, she gets mad. Well, she's here today and she will get those test results. Anyway, Ms. Jackson has more evidence for us.
Was he at the hospital when she was born?
Yes.
No, he wasn't.
He came in the hospital, Your Honor.
He wasn't there when she was born.
He asked me where she was. The nurse brought her back in the room. He put the robe on her and he fed her. Not only that, Cajun, when she was born.
Wow! And to go from doing that to saying that the child isn't his and not contributing anything to the child's well-being for the last 26 years? Okay, that's insane, even for paternity court.
Did you take her around places with you, Mr. Brown?
Yes, I did.
She has your last name?
Yes, Your Honor.
That he
Your
didn't
Honor.
give her.
Yes.
So he said he did not sign her birth certificate.
So that's what I want to know.
No, he said I asked my husband over and over again, did you sign the birth certificate? When Timothy was
Your Honor, I don't
born.
know.
Phew. So while she was sleeping with Mr. Brown, she was dating another man who married her, but then got his marriage to her annulled because he had another wife in another state. What is going on here? But Miss Brown has real proof that Mr. Brown signed her birth certificate.
That's a birth certificate that's a fake, Your Honor. That is a fraud. Her mama been lying to her, and she's sitting here and believing her.
No.
So wait, on this birth certificate, it does say Dwight Stanley Brown.
He named
didn't
me
sign
and
that.
spelled the name.
He was with me during the time
Spelled
that
my
birth
name and named me.
This
Now,
the
I
second
do
birth
not
certificate.
see a signature on this birth
Because
certificate,
he did not
though.
sign
Because
it.
I didn't sign.
Wow. This just gets worse and worse and worse. And it's about to get even worse, because Mrs. Brown here has got a chart that she'd like to show all of us.
Okay, the first time it was 1990. I paid money to have a test done for her. She didn't show up. Again, the summer of 90. She thought, let me keep calling me. That's an insult about DNA testing. Every time we asked for something. Same thing in 1992. Okay, then we went to Ms. Jackson again. Went up to the lab again to get a DNA testing. I paid my money, okay? My husband didn't pay child support, Your Honor. I did. I took care of her.
That's true.
Yeah, this is as good as it gets on paternity court. You may think, well, it cannot get worse than this. Well, you'd be wrong, because there's one more twist in this case. Here is the evidence Miss Jackson just submitted.
This is a document signed by Dwight Stanley Brown.
Yes.
This is an acknowledgement of paternity.
That's not my husband's signature.
Signed the 24th day of September 1990.
He didn't write his name. That is not my husband's signature there.
This is substantially similar to me.
If it's my signature, I wouldn't misspell my own name.
Where do you see it's misspelled?
Right up there where the L and the E is.
This is just insane. The suspense is killing. This has to be one of the craziest cases on paternity court ever. Let's get to the end of this case and finally see who really is the father here. Is it Mr. Brown or someone else?
Mr. Brown, you are her father.
Jesus.
And you knew that. You knew that. Are you all right, Tanika?
Ms. Woods is a proud fast breeder. Yes, you heard that right. She says fast breeding is a superpower, and she's got it. And this time, she's used her superpowers to get pregnant for Mr. Volmar and insists he is her baby's father. Mr. Volmar says Ms. Woods is a liar, but Ms. Woods says that's a complete lie.
I was going through some issues with my other kid's father, and one night I went to the club and wound up running into Mr. Volmar. He actually walked up to me while I was having a drink, and he whispered in my ear and told me that I looked like something that he could see himself with. So we exchanged numbers. I wound up leaving the club. He called me the following morning and asked me, can I come over to his house?
And that's exactly why we are here in paternity court. Ms. Woods says the condom popped, and she told him that he was in trouble. Here's exactly how she put it.
I told him, like, I'm a fast breeder. Like, I have 4 other kids. So
a fast breeder?
Yes, I'm a fast breeder.
Fast breeder. Let's just say fertile.
Yes, I'm fertile. I'm sorry.
Okay.
He told me he was in a relationship for 5 years, and the girl wasn't able to, get pregnant.
So you admit you had a sexual relationship with Ms. Woods?
That's it.
Yeah, that's it. And guess what, Mr. Volmar? That's enough. Mr. Volmar says he never thought Ms. Woods' child was his. In fact, he says he just told her congratulations when she got pregnant. What a stand-up guy this man is. So why did he even think he isn't the baby's father?
Remember the night that the condom broke? There was a couple of nights the condom broke, and I just said, you know what? If I got it, I already got it. Who needs condoms anymore?
So wait, you're admitting that then you started having unprotected sex with her?
Oh, a lot of it.
Okay, so the point is that you admit that you could be this child's father.
I don't know.
You don't know, but you could be.
I don't know because, I've tried it before. It didn't work. I don't know.
So when you say you tried it before and it didn't work, what do you mean?
I tried to get 3 different women pregnant.
That's kind of what happens when you're with a fast breeder, Mr. Volmar. Try to keep up with the program. It's the big leagues now, and fast breeders do what fast breeders do, which is breed very fast. Now here's what our fast breeder has to say.
Yeah, he wasn't the father because I was staying with a man at the time.
You lived with him. You just can't visit me.
It does not matter. I was at your house every day, so how I had time to have sex with you and have sex with him?
Well, wait a minute now, Ms. Woods.
In the bed with him. I mean, of course you're gonna have sex.
Ms. Woods, if you were living with him, you were still in a relationship with him, right?
Right, I was in a relationship with my other kid's father, but I was not having sex with him within that month I conceived.
What a guy. Heat of the moment? Well, now the moment's really hot, and you've got to step up to the plate if you're the dad, Mr. Volmar. You ain't got no choice. But Mr. Volmar doesn't accept this because he thinks he was a good side piece.
Oh, I'm the side piece. I'm a good side piece.
So wait a minute. You had Mr. Volmar
She'll be on the phone with her boyfriend. I'll be laying in the bed, rubbing on her booty while she's talking to him. Okay, I was a good side dude. I didn't say anything. He had no problems. Come over whenever you want. We had fun.
Oh, Lord.
Even Judge Lauren is already tired of all of this, and this case is about to get even crazier. Ms. Woods cannot even get a word out without Mr. Volmar interrupting her with some nonsense.
I was staying with him at the time, so I'm stuck having a baby.
Are you?
Yeah, I had the baby.
By who?
By you.
Are you sure?
I'm positive. I'm 100% sure.
I don't even know his name.
Look at that baby. That baby looks just like you. She don't look nothing like me. That baby don't have anything for me but my toes. That baby look exactly like him. His eyes, his nose, his facial structure, that baby looked just like him.
Jeez, what a man. It doesn't look like Mr. Volmar is taking this seriously at all. He might be a great side piece, but it doesn't look like this fellow will make a good dad at all. That's why Ms. Woods says she didn't want to have a baby with him, but if she really didn't, then why did she sleep with him without protection? Even Judge Lauren asks the same question.
I deal with him.
But Ms. Woods, you were dealing with him.
Yeah,
that's why we're here.
Because I was going through something with my other kid's father.
She likes the ignorance, Your Honor.
I was going through something with my other kid's father at the time. He made me feel good about myself.
Before meeting Mr. Volmar, Ms. Woods had an okay life, but then she messed it up by getting with this side piece. Why would she even do all that? And she's got a good answer for us. Trust me, you'll love this answer.
It was just so much going on with my other kid's father, like the fussing and fighting, like I got tired of that.
So let's go cheat on him.
Pretty much.
Good job. Good job.
You sleep with Mr. Volmar, another guy.
No, we had sex. There was no sleeping.
Oh.
Sex. No sleeping.
Let's just be respectful for it.
We just love an accountable queen on paternity court, don't we? She ruined her relationship, became a fast breeder for Mr. Volmar, and now is in paternity court. What an extraordinary 24 months period for Ms. Woods here. And Mr. Volmar shows just how crazy he is when this happens.
I called him when I was in labor giving birth to my child.
You called me 8 months later. 8 months.
He blocked me off of his phone. What you want me to do?
I found out she was pregnant within 2 to 3 months. She was gone.
Blocking a woman who could be carrying your baby. Really? But before we check out the results, Mr. Volmar here has one more joke for us. And that happens when Judge Lauren invites a doctor to examine if he really does have a low sperm count.
The rest of the analysis shows that he also had good motility of his sperm, which is also important because the sperm have to swim to the egg in order to fertilize
How
it.
can they swim? I can't swim.
Well, your sperm can certainly
Volmar,
swim.
you're becoming a clown, and this is not a circus, this is a courtroom.
I understand.
We're getting the information concerning your body and your potential conceiving this beautiful baby. It's not a joke.
The doctor concludes that it's possible for Mr. Volmar to get a woman pregnant, especially if that woman is a fast breeder. And we all know who the fast breeder in this courtroom is. Let's put an end to this once and for all and find out who's really the father of this baby. Mr. Volmar or someone else?
Mr. Volmar, you are the father.
Thank you. Thank you. You're the father. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor. Exactly. Looking just like him. Thank you, Your Honor.
Mr. Little tried to get a DNA test done on Jasmine Degree, but she and her mother refused to show up 4 separate times. And today, they are both in court claiming that Mr. Little is Jasmine's father and that he should start coughing up child support. Mr. Little says there's no way that is ever happening. And here is what Jasmine has to say about that.
I was about 9 years old. Me and all my siblings was in the living room. We was discussing fathers. And that's when my mom told me who I believe was my biological father, who had been in my life since I was younger, wasn't. And she told me that Mr. Little was.
Really? Mr. Little? You told an 11-year-old that you needed to get a DNA test? That is wild. In fact, he says this is his first time seeing Jasmine, and he had absolutely no idea who she was. And that is why he thought that the best thing to do was to talk about DNA tests with an actual child.
She said, no, you my father.
She said, you are my father.
I don't believe I said that.
You said, my mother told me you're my father. So I was like, listen, I don't know if you is or you're not. We need to tell you, we need to take a test.
Okay, Mr. Tests, so let us go way back to when Miss Degree was conceived. How did all of this even begin? How did Mr. Little get involved with Miss Degree's mom? And come on, what are even the chances that this man is Jasmine's father? Well, Mr. Little has something to say about that.
Pregnant.
I knew she was pregnant. That's what she told my brother, that it wasn't mine. My brother said, is this gonna be my nephew or niece? No, it ain't your brother's. Okay, I'm
Well, if she told you that,
It's
then
funny, you don't
why
remember
why you
And I got documents, hold up, I got no proof right here that we messed around in August.
The evidence here is a recreated calendar that illustrates Mr. Little's point. And his point is that he saw Ms. Degree's mom in November, and she told him she was 3 months pregnant at the time. He then says that he last slept with her in August, which means he could not be the father of her baby's child. That is great logic, too. Jasmine does not agree.
So-called believe, and if my mom said it wasn't yours, why are you searching for me so-called?
Why I'm searching for you?
If I am your child.
Why I'm searching for you?
But you said,
hold up.
But you just said that you gonna leave it alone, though, right?
The reason why I'm searching for you, because I got a little evidence right here. If they start taking stuff out my check, I'm called, I want to take a DNA test because I want to get it stopped.
Wow, Mr. Little is on a roll. He has so many pieces of evidence, it is impossible to keep track. His new evidence is that he tried to get a DNA test done, but the Degrees just never showed up to get the test. And that leads to a shouting match.
And they tried to get in contact with her for a DNA test. She never showed up. And I paid for 2 tests that they never showed up for. Hold up, did I ask you to come to Jersey?
Let's get some order.
Hold up.
You know, when you went on assistance, you were asked to give a name.
Yes, I was.
Did you give only his name, or were there multiple
I gave
people?
Cannon Little name.
It should have been multiple names.
Wow, so there were other men on that beat? Jeez. Mr. Little is still hung up on this and says that Ms. Degree should never have told her daughter that another man was her father. And this again leads to yet another shouting match.
And granted, that's my fault, but see, me being an adult, I can accept that and take that. But you being an adult and claim the fact that you never took care of her.
I ain't taking care of her.
You sitting here, you sounding stupid.
I ain't sound, you sound stupid.
Talking about, oh, I had multiple this and that.
You did.
Truthfully, you ain't even know who I was.
Yeah, cut it out. I think we have seen just about enough. It is time to get to the bottom of this case and find out if Jasmine Degree is actually Mr. Little's daughter. Let's have Judge Lauren read out the DNA test results. Now.
Mr. Little, you are her father.
This is my father.
Ms. Quiller has tested 2 other men as potential fathers for her daughter, and both tests have returned negative. She is now saying that Ms. Briggs' dead son is her last hope for paternity for her child. Meanwhile, Ms. Briggs says her deceased son never told her anything about having a child with Ms. Quiller. Here is how Ms. Quiller puts it.
Other potential fathers tested and their paternity test came out to be negative. Mrs. Briggs' son would be my last hope of paternity for my daughter.
Can you describe for the court the nature of your relationship with Mr. Jones?
Mr. Jones and I, we were really just friendly. It was one night that I came home from the club, and it just that particular night the alcohol in me was talking. It was a one-time thing. It happened one time, and we socialized.
Miss Briggs says she has known Miss Quiller for a while, and that she is really a good person. So when she heard that she could have had a son by her son, she thought it was all providence. This was such a painful moment for her because of the loss of her son. This is so emotional for Miss Quiller too.
I feel like Nora deserves to know who her father is. I had the opportunity to meet my father when I was 17, and we have each other's number, and we still don't conversate with one another. And I feel like oh my God. I feel like Melissa deserves to know if she has a grandchild or not, and if she has another sibling.
This is just so touching. You can see that Ms. Quiller loves her kid very, very much. Mrs. Briggs also loves her potential grandchild very much. And despite not being told by her son in real life that she might have a grandchild, she still hopes Nora's her grandchild.
And at that point, she told you that her son...
She looked at her and she said, "This is my grandbaby."
And so when you saw this beautiful baby, you said, "This is my grandbaby"?
I just knew that she was my granddaughter. I had been dreaming about her for days. Like, my son was showing me this little girl in my dreams, and I was like, okay, what does this mean? And a few days later, here she is.
This is just so touching. Now let us put an end to this suspense and see if Ms. Briggs is correct. Is this really her grandchild, or were her dreams about this baby being hers just a coincidence? Well, the results may shock you. Hang on to your seats because this might be a wild one.
Pertaining to whether Miss Melissa Briggs is likely the grandmother of 3-year-old Nora Quiller. Miss Briggs, you are not her grandmother. So sorry.
Anna Payne finally found her father after years of searching for him, but her mother made sure she missed the DNA test mandated by the court. Now the man in question, Edward Yates, is saying there's no way he is Anna's father. Anna's mom cannot be in court today, so she's joining via video conferencing. Anyway, we are absolutely going to get down to the truth of this matter today. Here is Anna's side of the story.
I was in the living room watching cartoons or playing with toys or something, and my mom told me to come outside. So I said, okay, we just figured we were going outside to play, and when we were walking around the front yard, she said, well, I have some news. And she said that, well, my ex-husband is not your dad. And I was like, well, what do you mean? He said he's not your biological dad. Bad news is I don't know where he's at. He's somewhere in Alabama. That's all I know. I was kind of confused.
Hold up. What did Anna's mom even mean by that? He's not what you're gonna expect? Well, we've got to let Anna explain this part a bit more.
He's not what you're gonna expect.
Really?
Yes.
He's not what you're gonna expect?
He was exactly what she said he'd be. He was very, very arrogant.
I believe the term was
Yes, definitely.
I don't allow foul language in the courtroom, but if the shoe fits.
Well, we'll see if the shoe fits, right? Anyway, Edward Yates says he knew absolutely nothing about this until 4 years ago. In fact, he just received child support bills 4 years ago. Edward says the entire revelation has turned his life upside down. Wow, strong language there, Edward. But he must know Anna's mom, right? Let's see how he plays that part.
Wasn't a whole lot of a relationship. We were really only seeing each other for a few weeks, and then we both went separate ways.
All right, so you were having just a casual dating relationship?
We had a sexual relationship.
A sexual relationship.
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you ever know she was pregnant?
No, Your Honor.
You were never informed she was pregnant?
No, Your Honor.
Did not know?
Not once.
Now we've got a real case on our hands. One person here must be lying, right? It's either Edward here isn't the model family man he says he is, or Anna's mom is telling us a bald-faced lie. But Anna's mom has an even more interesting story to tell.
I figured I already had one baby, had another on the way. I didn't need to be raising a third one, because all he did was whine and cry about what he couldn't get and what his parents didn't do for him. I made a decision to end the relationship. One day he was at work, Anna was about between 6 and 9. 9, I guess. And I talked to him for a few minutes, and he told me he'd call later and never heard from him. I spoke to his mom a couple times over the years.
So you feel like you tried to reach out, but you've been ignored?
Exactly.
If Edward is lying, then he's got a really huge issue because this isn't something anyone should lie about. When our guy here got the summons 4 years ago, he requested a DNA test and he showed. Guess what happened when he showed up?
The responsibilities, I wanted proof.
You wanted proof, so you requested a DNA test, and here, in fact, is a DNA test request.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you showed up?
Yes, Your Honor.
And what happened when you showed up to court?
I get this statement that says that they didn't show up.
Let me see that.
I went down and I took my test. When I go back to court, I'm told there's not going to be a test.
Oh. So who's sketchy now? If Anna's mom was really sure this man was her child's father, why wouldn't she show up for the test? Anna's mom says she remembered missing the test, but she cannot remember why she missed it. Really? Is that even a good excuse? Anyway, this is what Edward did when that happened.
I basically just put it out of my mind at that point. If they're not going to go through a test, I'm not going to give it much thought.
And so after that time, once you knew and you knew the parties, you knew what was involved, did you ever say to yourself, I wonder what happened to that little girl, Anna, or maybe I should go look for her, or was it in the back of your mind somewhere?
Not until about 9 months ago.
So even after missing the test, Anna was still trying to contact the man she thinks is her father. And that's why we are all here today. Edward says when Anna texted him, he thought she was just a prankster who got all his info from the internet. What a determined prankster that must have been, right?
Well,
I remember feeling that since I went and took a test at one time and they didn't, that there must be a reason why that they wouldn't go through a test.
And so in addition to their failure to appear for the test, what are the other reasons why you doubt Miss Payne is your biological child?
Me and Miss Payne were only together for a few weeks, only had sex.
Okay, so we've got the facts right. There's a possibility here that Edward could be Anna's father, but there's also the tiny matter of Anna's mom skipping the DNA test completely. Could that mean something? Well, let's see what Anna's mom has to say.
My response is he's doing nothing but lying because he was with me when I found out. I talked to him when he was at work, and we talked about her then, and he was supposed to call me back and never did. His mom's known about her. I took her over there when she was a couple weeks old, and I spoke to her a couple times over the years.
And so, Mr. Yates, were you ever told a story about how Miss Payne brought her daughter over to your parents' home and saw your grandmother?
Anna let me know of that story when we finally got in contact.
Well, let's see who is telling the truth now by checking out the DNA test results. That must provide some clarity, right? Let's find out once and for all.
Mr. Payne, you are her father. And I want you to understand, you are such an example to so many young people here who are still looking for their fathers. You, my dear, are an example of what you do when you just continue to step out on faith.
Super ironic case. Mr. and Mrs. Strickland met on a dating site and then started cheating on their spouses with each other. And now today, Mr. Strickland claims that the baby he has with his missus doesn't belong to him. Here's how poor Mrs. Strickland puts it.
I love him with all my heart, and I would never do anything to betray his trust, ever. I need these results to prove to him that this is his little girl, this is his daughter.
So this marriage can't withstand a negative result?
No, Your Honor, I don't think it could.
Mr. Strickland?
Yes, Your Honor.
Tell the court how this is affecting you.
Well, it's caused a lot of stress in my life. I've had issues with trust. I've had issues with people cheating on me.
This is so sad. It's clear that the husband here loves his wife, but for some reason he has trust issues that just don't seem to go away. So what is the cause of this trust issues, and why does Mr. Strickland think this baby isn't his?
My parents had taken my children for 11 months while I was trying to obtain a home for us in a new city, and I was looking for a job. And in the 11 months, I went back and forth from where we were living in Dyersburg to Memphis, back and forth. Created jealousy issues. He thought that maybe I was seeing other people while I was going down to Memphis to see my children.
And that's something that was going on. Well, Mr. Strickland says that it was cheating, but for some reason, when Mr. Strickland found out his wife was pregnant, he was thrilled and practically over the moon. And then things started changing.
When she was pregnant, and, we had tried for over a year to get pregnant. And then all of a sudden, we decided we're not going to try no more. We're tired of trying. If it happens, it happens. And then a very short period of time after that, she's pregnant.
And that was right the time when she started to travel.
That was Yeah, that was probably near the end of the time she was starting to travel.
Okay.
Yeah, that's when things started going wrong for this couple. But Mrs. Strickland says she isn't the only one at fault for whatever went wrong between them. She says Mr. Strickland also had his part to play.
Towards my stomach, he would talk to my belly while I was pregnant. He would ignore my belly for a few days, and then he'd talk, and then it just seemed like he was pulling back from not only me, but from my other 2 children.
And at the time, Mr. Strickland, are you helping her through the pregnancy? Are you supporting her, going to doctor's appointments? How are you handling this, knowing you have doubt?
There was a possibility this was my child.
Okay, that's admirable. When the child was born, Mr. Strickland was present, and he also signed the birth certificate. What a stand-up fellow. But there's a tiny problem there, and this problem would shock you.
When they first brought the birth certificate in, I had signed the paperwork. They refused it because me and her were not legally married. She was still legally married to her ex-husband.
Oh!
So they brought in the second birth certificate. She requested to have her maiden name put on it.
Okay.
They said there wasn't a problem with that. She signs the paperwork. They send it off. We wait in the mail for it to come in, and all of a sudden...
Hold up. You heard that right. Mrs. Strickland was still married to her husband when she had a baby for Mr. Strickland, and she also refused to name him the father of her child. That's enough to give any sane man some measure of doubt, right? But Mrs. Strickland wants to defend herself, and here is how she does it.
What the problem was, they said the last name had to be different. It had to be changed. That it couldn't...
Whose last name?
Our daughter.
Okay.
Her last name had to be changed. It couldn't be his last name because we were not legally married.
Have you done anything to change her name?
I've tried, Your Honor, yes.
What happened?
No.
You say she has not?
She tells me repeatedly she has, but I don't think she has.
And that's right. Mr. Strickland says the process is so easy that the only reason that Mrs. Strickland hasn't done it is because she thinks another man is her kid's father. Gosh, no wonder Mr. Strickland thinks the child isn't his. Mr. Strickland also has some other doubts.
I actually started talking to a guy on the same site we were on that me and her met, and I'd seen the texts. I stopped that immediately.
So you saw text messages in her phone?
Yes, in her phone.
What did the messages say?
Things talking about how beautiful she was, how much he'd like to get to know her, how much he'd like to get to meet her.
Were you sending text messages to another man, Ms. Strickland?
Yes, Your Honor, I did.
Yickis! This is really one of the worst couples we've seen in paternity court, and you've got to say they kind of deserve one another right, and the accusations just get worse and worse and worse.
What about the pictures?
That was before we were married.
That was part of this relationship.
What pictures?
When she started working, at one point in time, she was flirting around with one of her coworkers. I seen text messages. I asked her about them. She told me that she had been texting him, and that was it. Those are pictures that I actually myself have taken.
So you took the pictures?
Yes.
But she sent them to another man?
Yes, Your Honor.
Gosh, what a couple. Mr. Strickland says he went absolutely berserk when he found out that these pictures had been sent to another man. And Mrs. Strickland says this was done in retaliation. Retaliation for what? Let's find out.
Shortly into Mr. Strickland and I dating, he tells me that he wants to go and spend the day with a friend. I get up in the morning, the following morning, and his phone goes off. I look at the text message. It's from his ex-girlfriend saying that they had a really great day and that she'd like to do it again. He'd spent all day the day before with his ex-girlfriend.
So Mrs. Strickland is basically saying she was justified in sending those pictures? Really? At this point, you've got to hope that Nancy belongs to neither of these people. Anyway, let's get down to what the DNA test says and see who's the father of beautiful Nancy.
Mr. Strickland, you are the father. How do you feel, Ms. Strickland?
I knew he was the father. I've never had a doubt.
This is a very important moment in your marriage because you're at a crossroads. I mean, quite frankly, people get very comfortable in dysfunction.
In court today, we have the two most polite drug addicts you'll ever meet. No screaming, no crying, just straight testimonies and honest conversations. Mrs. Coleman insists her child belongs to Mr. Coleman, and she's in court to prove it. Here's how Mr. Coleman puts it.
My marriage is at stake today. My sobriety and our kids is at stake today.
He's not the only one who has anything to lose. Like, it's my marriage, it's our family, it's what we have.
You've been together how long?
Coming up on 7.
Coming up on 7.
This is our anniversary month or something like that.
All right. And how many children do you have together?
4.
So this is a family.
Yes.
So this is a really big family, and that family might not last the year if the DNA results don't prove what Mrs. Coleman says it will. And here is how everything in this family got started.
About 6 years ago, she was doing what she was doing, I was doing what I was doing, and
What were you all doing?
we was in addiction.
Okay.
Heavy.
We're here in court, so we just tell the truth.
Yes.
All right, go ahead.
She was like 3-4 months pregnant at that time, and she had a doctor appointment coming up, you know what I'm saying? I could see where she was a little bit distraught, because she said if she go back and the tests, those that she's been using, they're gonna take her baby from her.
This means that the first baby was for someone else, and Mr. Coleman stepped up and was that baby's father. And then he had 3 more babies with her, with another one on the way. That's how the entire Coleman family started.
Like, you know, I don't even know who my baby daddy is. And he told me then, he was like, don't worry about it. You with me now. I'm that baby's daddy. And he did keep me in a safe place where I couldn't use. And that's what made me really fall for him. Like, he had this sweet, loving attitude towards me. And I really didn't feel like I was even worthy of being loved.
This is so heartwarming. You can clearly see that Mrs. Coleman loves her husband, but scandals may be threatening to tear that family apart. Mr. Coleman wants the marriage to work, but he says some things keep destabilizing their union, and he shares those things.
Really not a good time, but they was crying for her, so I took them to the place where we once dwelled in, you know what I'm saying? And that kind of touched her right there at that time. And I seen she wanted help, but didn't really know how to ask for it. So I asked, when you ever needed help, you know what I'm saying, just call me, you know what I'm saying? So she ended up calling me, and I took her to treatment.
Wow, that's so sad. Well, Mr. Coleman has been clean for almost 2 years, and Mrs. Coleman has been clean for 10 months. That's great, but that doesn't erase the doubts that Mr. Coleman feels.
Find out Miss Coleman is pregnant, your wife.
The STD at the same time.
And when you find that out, you also find out she contracted an STD.
Yes.
No.
Is that true, Miss Coleman?
No, Your Honor. I was on the streets. I was ripping and running. It was infidelity. I was very promiscuous. I masked a lot of things with men and drugs.
Another STD? Well, Mrs. Coleman has a good excuse for this too. She says that she was told that her first STD wasn't treated properly, so it wasn't as if she got another STD from another man. It was just that the first STD wasn't properly treated. Mr. Coleman also has more doubts.
Be on the bus stop sometimes, and I'll see guys trying to pick her up, and she would make comments like, I can't go right now. Right there, that's like, what you mean you can't go right now? I was looking for you saying, hey, don't come to me like that. You know what I'm saying? That was like, man, a big shocker to me.
And let's be clear, Ms. Coleman, we understand that as he talks about these situations, we know that it's directly connected to the addiction issue that you were dealing with.
Gosh, Mr. Coleman really has reason to doubt that his wife remained loyal to him. And who can blame him? When Mrs. Coleman found out that Mr. Coleman had doubts, she was very angry. But Mr. Coleman says he only slept with her once in that period. This is how that went down.
Had a period, so I called him and I'm like, I think I might be pregnant. And I was like, we're gonna have to get a test. That was that. The next time I heard from Mr. Coleman, he's asking me, like, well, how do you feel about going on a paternity court? And I was like, what do we need all that for?
Well, it's time to figure out the truth of the matter. Is Mr. Coleman the father here, or is it some other drug addict? Let's find out.
Coleman, you are the father. Congratulations.
Thank you. No more comments, none of that no more.
Can we move forward now?
Yes, ma'am.
We can move forward.
Yes.
I'm glad we could be here for you in this time.
Thank you.
You all have been through a lot. You've overcome a lot.
Mr. Jenkins says Ms. Ellison is just talking straight nonsense when she calls him the father of her child. He says she has so many guys she sleeps with that it's impossible to keep count. Yup, that's right. And he says that the DNA test results today will prove him right. Here is how he starts his case.
When I first met Ms. Ellison 2 months into our relationship, she made it known that she still was in a relationship with her boyfriend. I mean, I done seen Ms. Ellison with many guys in and out their cars. I mean, just with many guys. And I asked, I'm like, you must be having sex with somebody. Her jaw gonna drop.
That's a lie, Ms. Ellison? Well, Ms. Ellison says that Mr. Jenkins knew that she had a boyfriend before he dated her and wasn't news to him. Well, if he knew, why is he getting so angry? What's going on?
He didn't keep his promises.
But you had a boyfriend.
Things wasn't going right at home.
Okay, so you were entertaining Mr. Jenkins because you were having issues in your relationship.
Yes, ma'am.
So you slept with him.
Yes, Your Honor.
No protection.
Yes, ma'am.
But also still sleeping with your boyfriend.
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, as everyone knows, seeing someone getting out of a car with a man is a surefire way to know that they are sleeping with them. And Mr. Jenkins here is a talker. He really loves to talk, and Judge Lauren just lets him yap. He's a real yapper, this one.
Ellison did, okay, well, you know, I can show you how to drive, I can show you how to get your license, I can show you how to do better for yourself.
And that he did not do.
Whoa, I never said I wanted to be in a relationship with you. When I first met Miss Ellison, we came up with a plan.
Yeah, that's the real reason he is here. Mr. Jenkins really does not want no mo kids, so he didn't want a relationship with Ms. Ellison and was basically just sleeping with her off empty promises. The funny thing is that Ms. Ellison told both her boyfriend and Mr. Jenkins that she was pregnant, and this is how that went.
And he did not allow me to talk to him and inform him on anything. No doctor's appointments, no nothing. I couldn't talk to him.
What you need to talk to him for?
But you said you wasn't in a relationship.
Wow, so the boyfriend dipped immediately he found out that Ms. Ellison was pregnant. Unfortunately for Mr. Jenkins, he couldn't run away for some reason, and Miss Ellison is now saying he is the father. Are we getting that right? And now let's hear Mr. Jenkins yap.
But you gonna let me know the baby born 3 hours later?
You knew the night that we went to the hospital. You knew
for 3 days in a row.
Your Honor, he knew a week before I was finna get induced.
Man, come on, man, you did not tell me that.
The hospital.
Wow. Well, the evidence that Mr. Jenkins produces is evidence that he's being taken to child support court by Ms. Ellison, but that's not what we were even talking about. Anyway, Mr. Jenkins says the child support summons is unfair because the baby could also belong to another man. And he's sort of right, isn't he?
You're not sure who your child's father is, and yet you placed Mr. Jenkins on child support.
Yes, Your Honor.
You just met me. Why ain't put him?
Are you certain he's the child's father?
I didn't have sex with my ex-boyfriend until a week after my ovulation week.
Man, that baby still could be anybody's baby.
That's right. If you're not sure, then don't claim a man as the father when he could be stuck with child support for 18 years. That's just evil. Ms. Ellison says Mr. Jenkins hasn't helped at all with her baby, and he denies that completely.
I haven't did anything, Ashley.
Yeah, you bought this outfit.
Hold on.
This what you bought. This what you brought to the baby shower. You bought this.
I ain't tell you no doctor appointment.
You took her to 3?
Hold on. I said, Miss Ellison, you ain't had no baby. Ain't nobody talking to you.
But I've been here.
Yeah, when you keep on yapping all the way like that, you're gonna yap yourself into a warning by Judge Lauren. Before we get to the DNA test, let's see what Miss Ellison's mother has to say.
He did not want her talking to the other person.
Okay, so
and
she cut
at
him
the same
off.
time, I was trying to tell her, they both could potentially be the father. You need to keep him involved. And because she loved him so much, she respected him and did what he wanted her to do.
Really? Mr. Jenkins hasn't taken responsibility for a single thing in this courtroom today. Well, let's see if he will be having some huge responsibilities in his life moving forward. It's time to find out if he's the father of this child or not.
Mr. Jenkins, you are her father. So, Mr. Jenkins, you said you wanted to know, and now you know. Ms. Bruton, you claim to be 100% positive that Mr. Martin is not your son's biological father because your ex-boyfriend, Mr. Richardson, is.
Yes, Your Honor.
You say today's DNA test will allow you to get rid of Mr. Martin and to finally reconcile your relationship with Mr. Richardson. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
For some reason, Ms. Bruton seems to be quite sure that her boyfriend is the father of her baby. But the ex-boyfriend wasn't going to let Ms. Bruton sell that story to the judge. He claimed he remembered being intimate with her around the window of conception. He started by saying this.
I know I had unprotected sex around the time that she conceived. She might say I didn't have it as many times she said I did, but I know it's a fact.
No.
And it's 99.7%
No, Your Honor.
that it is mine.
No, Your Honor. We only had unprotected sex twice.
No.
That's it.
Your Honor.
Twice.
Your Honor.
In my apartment, twice.
Your Honor, it was 3 at her apartment, 2 at her family member house, 1 at my house, and 1 in the car.
Now, that's a really harsh thing to do, Ms. Bruton. She made him happy about the pregnancy and then pulled a fast one on him by vanishing into the air. But here's the crazy thing. Ms. Bruton was not sure who the father of her child could be, so what did she do? She decided to tell both of them that they could both be the father of the child.
First of all, I called both of them because I wasn't for sure who was the father because I slept with both of them around the same time.
Okay, so you do admit his testimony is true.
Yeah.
Take me back. I want to understand this relationship. So,
okay, me and Mr. Richardson, we was having our up and downs
else in our relationship. And so when I met Mr. Martin, I confided him as a friend, and then our friendship grew into a sexual relationship.
There's no denying it now. Ms. Bruton was the one who stepped out of line in the relationship. But there's more truth to be told. Apparently, Mr. Martin wasn't being so truthful with his side of the story. The judge asked him if he wanted to be in a relationship with Ms. Bruton, and the answer he gave was breathtaking. Here's what he had to say.
To guy, Mr. Martin, or did you think you were in a relationship?
Nah, I was just the go-to guy.
So you knew that?
Yeah, I knew that. I really wanted me a child at the time, so I was trying to get her pregnant, and I did tell her that.
You were trying to get somebody pregnant that you
pregnant.
didn't want to be in a relationship
Yeah,
with?
but I didn't want to be in a relationship with her.
But you were trying to get her pregnant?
Yes.
So you just gonna go out and just make a baby with anybody?
No, not with anybody, but
that's what you're saying.
I gotta get to know you, though.
One thing is for sure. Mr. Martin just got on Judge Lauren's nerves. The window of conception hits the table, and both Ms. Bruton and Mr. Martin can't seem to agree on the days they were intimate with each other. Ms. Bruton claimed it was a certain date, while baby daddy claimed she wasn't telling the truth.
Wow.
Yes, it is true. We only had sex twice.
Listen, that's so not true.
You're disputing those days?
Yeah, yes,
When
yes.
do you say you were intimate?
Before the 7th. It was like on the 5th May. That was the first time.
So you're saying you were intimate with her before and after this date of conception? Well, let's just be certain. What she has already testified to puts you in the window of conception, regardless.
Yes.
Sneaky little Ms. Bruton. She cheated and kept it a secret from her boyfriend? Wow. Could it get any worse? Anyway, Ms. Bruton claimed that it was her boyfriend who was by her side throughout the pregnancy. She claimed Mr. Martin was a pain in her ass, and all he tried to do was ruin her relationship with her boyfriend.
Who stepped up for you during this pregnancy?
Mr. Richardson.
Really?
Yes, I was trying my best to avoid Mr. Martin because he's very messy, trying to break up me and Mr. Richardson's relationship.
But when you told him he was a potential father,
yes.
Wait, Mr. Martin, did you try to be there? Were you trying to go to
Yeah, he tried, but I've tried to, I wasn't hearing it. I wasn't seeing it.
At first she did. I was trying to do that.
At least she isn't denying shutting Mr. Martin out of the picture, but it gets tricky. Ms. Bruton allowed her boyfriend to sign the birth certificate because she wanted him to be the father. Or as she put it, she believed and hoped he was the father. Even till this moment, she doesn't know if her boyfriend is actually the father of her child.
Because I wanted Mr. Richardson to know all of that. I didn't want Mr. Martin to know none of that because I don't want him to be Logan's father.
So you allowed Mr. Richardson to sign the birth certificate because you think he's the father or because you hope he's the father?
I think he's the father and I'm hoping he's the father.
Both. So now he's legally responsible for this child.
Yes.
Well, the case is not going to get any messier than this. Judge Lauren isn't going to sit around and watch these guys argue all day. The only way out of this mess is to reveal the DNA results. Is Mr. Martin going to end up being the father of the child?
Mr. Richardson, you are not the father. What? Mr. Martin.
I told you.
What?
I told you.
You are the father.
I told you. I knew what it was.
No, that is not possible.
Yeah, I
that
know
is not possible.
That
is not possible.
Mr. Angelari had an affair with a married woman and now believes he is the father of her child. Ms. Vargas, on the other hand, claims he can't be the father. And that just got on Judge Lauren's nerves. He stated his case by saying this.
Mr. Angelari, you claim the defendant, Ms. Vargas, was married and having an affair with you when she got pregnant.
Yes, Your Honor, that's correct.
Now, you say she initially told you that you were not the father of her 11-month-old son, but then dropped the bomb that the child was indeed yours.
That is correct.
After her marriage was over.
That is correct.
At least one fact has been established. They weren't in a relationship. Ms. Vargas needed a shoulder to cry on, and Mr. Angelari was her perfect subject. But things were about to get very intense. Mr. Angelari claimed that all he wanted to do was be there for Ms. Vargas when her relationship with her husband was rocky. But guess what? Ms. Vargas told the judge that all he wanted to do was get her pregnant.
One night, we ended up back at my place. We'd been at the club, we got turned up. We're out there doing our thing. We went to the house, started doing our thing.
Our thing?
Yeah.
Your Honor. That night, when we, had sexual intercourse, you planned to get me pregnant. I feel like you did.
Oh, no, that's a lie.
Hold on. I realize that you may hear some things that will evoke intense emotion.
Isn't that just cute? One would even think they were in a beautiful relationship with the way they spoke about each other. Moving on, when Ms. Vargas found out she was pregnant, she told Mr. Angelari that he was the father. After a while, she decided she wanted to work things out with her husband. And that's when her entire story changed.
I wanted it to be...
She told me the baby was mine, and the next thing you know, she's telling me it's her husband.
I wanted to work things out with my husband, Your Honor. I wanted to do it for him.
You gotta face reality.
So when you first found out you were pregnant, Ms. Vargas, did you call Mr. Angelari and say this child is yours? So first you told him it was his.
I first did.
Then you decided I want to try to work this out with my husband, so you tell your husband that it's his.
There could be a chance that it was him.
Looks like her decision to want to work things out with her husband blew up in her face. While trying to work things out with her husband, she told Mr. Angiolari that she needed some space and time to figure out a way. But Mr. Angiolari just couldn't get the thought of being the child's father out of his head.
You asked him to give you some space because you're trying to work this out with your husband.
Yes, Your Honor.
I moved away anyhow.
You respected that to a certain extent, but in your mind you knew that you could possibly have a child.
I had a gut feeling, so come September-ish is when I contacted her husband and her, saying, you know what, reality, whether you dislike me, whether you like me, you need to let me know if this is my child when the kid is born. She never told me when he was born. I heard from people around town.
They aren't wrong about that, though, as the child needs to know who to call daddy and mummy. Even with both of them agreeing that they want to do right by the kid, Mr. Angiolari claimed that he felt it in his gut that Ms. Vargas was trying to be shady with him and her husband. Here's why he felt that.
Forgive me for adultery or have anything happen with my children. I said, well, I can respect that. Do your thing. I moved up to Austin. She still lived down in Temple. I was 45 minutes away. I didn't talk to her. One of my friends that lived down in the same area told me, oh, she's getting big. She's ready to pop. So then come September, my conscience is really wearing on me like, what's she gonna tell me? Is she gonna let me know something? No, I didn't hear nothing. I moved to Washington.
If there is anything these guys are good at doing, trust me, it's arguing. Now, Mr. Angiolari felt the only reason Ms. Vargas was coming back to him was because things did not work out for her and her husband. And most importantly, she didn't want her child growing up without a father.
Going well with them, I would never even hear about this. But I also see where she's coming from because she wants her son to have a father. And if he is my son, I want to be his father.
I'm just hurting for him because I want him to be there for him.
And if I'm his father, I will be there for him. But what I thought she was just trying to maybe get some money out of me, I have some evidence I'd like to...
Well, something definitely smells fishy about her story. First, she wants Mr. Angiolari to be the father of her child, but she initially threatened to put a restraining order on him? Come on, Ms. Vargas. Something isn't right. Mr. Angiolari had some evidence to back up his accusation, and here's what he showed the judge.
These are messages that say, I need you to give away your rights. I hope you stay away and never come around. I will put a restraining order on you.
What kind of mother does that when you think that's the father?
What had he done to warrant a restraining order?
Nothing, Your Honor.
So this is just angry talk.
It's just being angry. He wasn't there. He would always make excuses saying, oh, I can't send you money. One time, he said he was gonna send me money. I waited at Walmart.
From her tone, Judge Lauren is starting to lose her cool, trust me. One of the reasons Ms. Vargas changed her mind was that she claimed that as the baby got older, she noticed that he started to look like Mr. Angiolari. But did Mr. Angiolari feel the same way about the child?
On that end. But then I also looked at, well, she's lied to me on numerous occasions. I lived in the same city as she did until the kid was 6 months old, 5 months old. Why couldn't she get a hold of me then?
I felt like he was starting to look more like you, and I wanted you to be there.
Do you think he looks like me now?
Yes.
Because my other two kids resemble me, spitting image.
I guess we know why he wants to be part of the baby's life if he ends up being the father of the child. Anyway, enough drama and testing Judge Lauren's anger. The results are in, and it's time we find out who the real father of the child is.
Mr. Angiolari, you are the father.
That's all I've wanted. Like you said, everybody makes mistakes, but it's all about how you come out of it.
Ms. Curtis is in court to prove that her mother, Ms. Hall, kept her father's identity a secret. Now, she is determined to find out who her father is, and that just made Judge Llewellyn lose her cool. Ms. Curtis opened her case to the judge like this.
Ms. Curtis, you have brought your mother, Ms. Hall, to court today because you say she hid the identity of your father from you for 14 years.
My grandmother, she sat me down and she said that she wanted to tell me the truth about who my father really is to be, and that my mother has been lying to me for the past years of my life, which was 14 years old.
Did she just say she always felt adopted? What secrets did Ms. Curtis's mother hide from her to make her feel like she was adopted? Anyway, Ms. Hall decided to explain why she kept the identity of her father a secret. In her explanation, she claimed that she did it because she was trying to protect her daughter.
I did not tell my daughter at a young age about who her father was. Simply one, because I was a young girl. I was pregnant at the age of 15. I gave birth to her when I was 16 years old. When I was 15, I met Kurt. And Kurt lived pretty much like a fast lifestyle.
Okay.
And, which attracted me to him. And being young.
At least she was honest in the courtroom. She fooled around when she was much younger and found herself in a hot mess. Now, when Ms. Curtis confronted her mom about keeping her father's real identity a secret, this is how it played out.
She
she began to tell me her own version of the story about who my alleged father at the time. She said, he's not really your dad, baby. And I said, okay, I already know that. My Nana already told me. She told me another name. She didn't tell me Kirk's name. She gave me another name. So I said, oh, I'm just so happy. I'm gonna call Nana and I'm gonna tell her that such and such is my dad. And then she goes, oh, no. I need to tell you the truth.
I bet Ms. Hall wasn't expecting her daughter to come at her like that. In no time, Ms. Curtis got emotional. She was hurt that her mother kept such a huge secret from her when, deep down in her heart, she craved the attention of a father figure in her life. Even Judge Lauren could feel the pain in her heart.
I don't care what she's saying. I wanted a dad. I've always wanted a dad. You can be that mother. You can always be a mother. And so it's like, but I still need my own father figure. It doesn't matter at all.
Ms. Hall, can you understand how this news, it was like a bomb just dropped on her?
Trust me, being in Ms. Curtis's shoes will suck right now. Ms. Hall tried to explain to the judge that her daughter was trying to exaggerate the situation with tears in her eyes, but Judge Lauren stopped her before she could even finish her sentence.
I feel like she's making this be more than what it is.
But no. Now, Ms. Hall, before you start minimizing, you gotta listen to your daughter because she's telling you what she feels. This was an event that everybody I knew got to go to. It's called the father-daughter dance, and when she said it, my heart dropped to my feet because I've been to the father-daughter dance.
I honestly don't want a mom like Ms. Hall. That's just evil right there. When Ms. Curtis found the identity of her real dad, she started to send him letters, hoping they could reunite and be a family. But her mom came into the picture and made that an impossibility. Ms. Curtis even had some evidence to back up her claim.
The letter right here.
Jerome,
this is the first time she'll ever see the letter.
He does state he's willing to be the father she needs and deserves, and it's signed Kirk.
And Your Honor, I know you may not understand how I feel about this right here, but that's where I feel like I was deceived and crossed because I had my time that I had set aside to do the right thing.
If these two are left alone, they might turn it into a boxing match. Judge Lauren was ready to hear from the man Ms. Hall claimed was her daughter's biological father. To everyone's surprise, he also had doubts about being Ms. Curtis's biological father. This was the reason he gave to the judge.
Well, Your Honor, I'm actually somewhat doubtful. And having said that, it's because the way the situation went down. When Tamika initially told me, hey, I'm pregnant, you're the father. But as I remember, she was also in a relationship with someone else. That was actually convenient for me, being that I was with somebody. So I mean, I'll take my part. Hey,
So you're saying she told you she was pregnant, you thinking to yourself, it could easily be someone else.
Wow, that certainly adds a lot of confusion to the whole story. The only way out of this messy situation is to have the DNA test revealed. And Judge Lauren was ready to do just that. This was Judge Lauren's verdict.
Mr. Whitaker, you are her father.
Judge Lauren got super mad in this episode about Ms. Moyetti being left to take care of her little baby girl all alone. Judge Lauren was really in no mood to smile. The whole situation began like this.
Moyette, you're here in court today to prove that Mr. Lester, a man who is 20 years older than you, is the father of your 3-month-old daughter, Nyla Moyette. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
You claim Mr. Lester has done nothing for your daughter, therefore you're suing for half of child-rearing expenses.
Yes, Your Honor. Well, Your Honor, Mr. Lester has hardly been involved in Nyla's life.
Things were never all lovey-dovey between Mr. Lester and Ms. Moyette. When she found out she was pregnant, she told Mr. Lester. But was he excited about the baby? Hell no. It was like the baby was going to spoil all the fun he was having.
When you told him about the pregnancy, what was his reaction, Ms. Moyette?
He was not happy. I actually planned this pregnancy. I went over to his house the day I was ovulating, okay? And I let him know, babe, I'm ovulating. I want to have a baby. We did nothing.
That is not true.
Yeah, we did nothing to prevent Nyla. And to make matters even worse, since I've had Nyla, we still haven't done anything to prevent another one.
Mr. Lester wasn't going to allow her to state the obvious, so he jumped in and called her a big fat liar. He said that all she said was in her head, and they hadn't been intimate in a really long while. Well, I sure saw that coming. He denied it all, but the revelations from Ms. Moyette will leave you in so much shock.
That's a lie. And now, it's not, Yana, we've had sex since I've had my daughter 5 times. I've counted.
And yesterday when you had sex, did you use protection?
Yeah.
No.
Iris.
Your Honor, I have no reason to lie. planned my baby's pregnancy. I planned this. I wanted to be with him. I still want to be with him.
Mr. Lester isn't being nice to Ms. Moyette at all in the courtroom. He kept emphasizing the fact that he didn't want a relationship with Ms. Moyette. He said he just wanted to have a good time, but Ms. Moyette was insistent on having a baby for him. Now, who's telling the truth? I'm pretty confused at this point.
I did want that, and she agreed to it.
I agreed to it in the beginning, and when he told me that he loved me, it opened me up to the fact that, well, maybe it could be. I mean, my background is not the best as far as me and my father. So him coming along, being older, being what I wanted from my father, I clung to that.
It was war in that courtroom. The things that were coming out of both Mr. Lester's and Ms. Moyette's mouths were just very unbelievable. Even Judge Lauren was very confused, as she couldn't make sense of it.
You're 45 years old.
Absolutely.
So when a woman says to you, I want to have your baby, and you say, no, I really don't want you to, and you're still having sex without protecting yourself, you're setting yourself up.
I've only had sex with Iris for 5 times.
That's a lie. You've never used a condom. Now, with the girls that he's cheating on me with.
Mr. Lester, who never wanted to have a kid with Ms. Moyette, stated that he had doubts about the baby being his. Was he being delusional? I mean, he was basically sleeping with Ms. Moyette without using protection. Trust me, people, these two are nuts.
Better than me, and I asked her, well, why you calling me tonight? Her response to me was, I could do both of y'all. I could do him Monday and do you Tuesday.
Yana, that's a lie. Let me tell you, that's a lie, Yana.
Thirdly, I come by, I see her with the same guy over and over and over again.
The neighborhood guy.
The neighborhood guy, yes. Over and over and over again. She admitted to having sex with that guy.
Well, it's finally time to uncover the truth after so many lies and deceptions. The day of reckoning is finally here. So take a deep breath, because the truth is finally going to be exposed.
Mr. Lester, you are Nyla's father.
Yes! Yes!
Ma'am.
Ma'am. Didn't I tell you?
Ma'am.
Didn't I tell you?
You need to be respectful.
Didn't I tell you?
Ma'am, I understand you're upset. Use proper language. Do not approach him.
Didn't I tell you?